friends, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to Code Wars Code Katas, episode number 47. Let's get this started. Welcome, everyone. If you're new to the show, you can visit github.com/codinggarden/code-katas. You can see all of the problems I've solved in all previous episodes, previous 46 episodes, and all the code that I write tonight will be there as well. If you have suggestions for katas, you can submit an issue. We're just getting started, but can everyone take a break with me? Take a quick stretch, reach behind you, reach in front of you. And also stand up if you've been sitting down for a while. But yes, you can submit an issue here, and I'll try to solve them. Right now, most of the submissions are for fairly hard problems, but what we're going to do today is we're going back to the basics. We're going to do some very, very simple problems. So you can go to codewars.com, do !codewars in the chat to get a link to see all of the different kinds of problems. And they range in difficulty all the way from 8Q down to 1Q. 8Q is the easiest, and so we're going to stick in the 7Q area today, and we're going to try to explain as much as possible. I want you to ask as many questions as possible. We're going to learn us some JavaScript today. When you click my stream, you get redirected to Mastermind. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but when I realize you can't hear me saying this, you can't hear me saying this right now if you are getting redirected. He's a good dude. He's actually teaching about AWS tonight, but I mean, I guess you can't hear me. You can't hear me saying these things, but I'd really try an incognito tab. Someone in the chat, tell them to try an incognito tab or something like that. All right, let's say hello to everyone. If you'd like me to acknowledge you and say hello, just say the word hello in the chat. It'll pop up here. It's the easiest way for me to say hello to people. Otherwise, it gets lost in all the chats. So, hello, Gazisha. Welcome to the show. Hello, Andrew and Kerman and Cesard and Picarbo. New names. Welcome, new people. I haven't seen these names before. And Ryukubi, you might have been here. I just don't remember the names. Mint Jim, what's up? And Zach and Bob and Radinus and Terrazoid and Thon and Elite Rose, welcome. Randomness, what's up? Rollers and Yossi and Simos and Awesome. Oh, Andrew has posted. Okay, well, remind me later, Andrew. I'll take a look. And Gung, hello, welcome to the chat. And Leon, what's up? And Raphael Devish, what's up? And hello, Bleefy, what's up? And Pixelmund, hello. Oh yeah, we got a new emote. Baked beans. we got the new bean emote. So the same person. Can everyone just do a drop? Let's drop some beans. The same person that designed the yerba mate emote designed the baked beans, or it just says bean, the bean emote. Awesome. Is there a video of me developing that thing? This thing? Yeah, it's an older video. But if you look at my last live stream, the one that happened 2 nights ago, I was working on things related to it. Wow, look at all those beans. They just landed perfectly at the bottom. I guess that happens normally. I don't know. But welcome, everyone. And hello, Untold Code. What's up, Kazisha? Yeah. Hello, Leon. Hello, community. What's up? That's HD Kappa. Nice. And hello, Benno. Greetings, Kazisha. And Mr. Demon Wolf. I guess you dropped. You didn't say hello. Oh, there he is. Got beans. Everyone should check out Mr. Demon Wolf. He's also a member of our Live Coders team. You can click that link and click the follow button because it's free. So do that. I didn't have a chance to look at the sub count being cached. Oh, and speaking of, shout out to Mr. Bekaleski. Shout out to Mr. Bekaleski who subscribed with Twitch Prime just an hour ago, so much appreciated. All right, let's acknowledge the follows. Oh, they're not being detected anymore. Ugh, everything's broken. Well, a really human being. Thank you for that follow. Check out this new feature. Check it. I can just press Command F and then search for follow. The Defo8, thank you for that follow as well. We added this the other night as well. Code! Yeah, if you do !code, you can get a link to this t-shirt. I designed it. All right, I'm going to try to catch up. Here, let's set a timer for... people are trickling in. Let's do 7 minutes. 7 minutes to just say hello, and then we're going to get into some coding. Here we go. And hello, Bob. What's up, Zach? No, it's really. I wonder, Mint Jim. Let me know in the chat. Did you make it? Can't watch the stream? Definitely try an incognito window. That's so weird. Okay, I'll try that. No channel is currently being hosted. It might be a bug in the mobile app. Tell them to uninstall the app. Tell them to uninstall the app. I realize they can't hear us. And hello, Destroyers. Welcome to the show. Yes. I've been on time like 3 times in a row. Just let Mint Jim... can anyone type in the chat? Say, we're going to wait for Mint and Jim to get here. We're going to wait. We will not start until they get here. That's so weird that that's happening. And Destroyers, what's up? And Untold Cold. And Crivasho, hello. I did finish the 3-pass compiler with an insane amount of help from Doc, this guy, or this person right here. I actually don't know what they are, but that's okay. They're a mod here on Coding Garden, and they're awesome, and they know a lot of things, and probably 80% of that solution was Doc's. Yeah. And welcome, Kavashu, second stream, and hello, Karimama Crane from Morocco. Yeah, it's a good habit. We'll do some Code Wars. I love simple problems. Yeah, we're going to break it down. And Brandon Kin, what's up? That's so weird it's getting redirected. That said, can we get a shout out for Mastermind? He's actually streaming right now. Shout out, Master Mundio. There we go. He has an awesome channel, and he's doing an introduction to AWS for noobs. So definitely check him out. Master Mundio? Can we use TypeScript today? That's not a bad idea. I mean, this is for beginners, but it would be cool to do a very basic kata in TypeScript to talk about TypeScript. That would be fun. I like that idea. All right. Should we look at this? Hello, Mr. Orangutan. I'm doing good. All right. Type 1 in the chat if I should click this link. Type 2 in the chat if I should not click this link. Please let me know. 1. 1. Okay, that's enough ones. Oh, I saw this on the Discord. This is really good. This is actually I think, was it you that posted this on the chat? Welcome, Mint Jim! Everyone, welcome, Mint Jim. And guess what, Mint Jim? We can do baked beans now. You made it. Baked beans! Baked beans for Mint Jim. So I don't know what this... somebody posted about this the other day. But like in Zach, a king with the tier 1 sub! Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. You're awesome. And you can use the emotes now. You can use the bean emotes. But remind me, Andrew, where did this happen? But somebody showed, like, in PHP, if you try to var dump flas, which is like a misspelling of the word false, the code doesn't break. Code goes burr. And in any other language, if you try to do that, you will get a unreferenced variable, please. Yeah. I'm actually not logged in, and I forgot my password. But if anyone else finds this funny, feel free to upvote. Twitch Prime sub! Necris, thank you so much. Thank you very much. I bet everyone's subbing so they can use the bean emote, right? Isn't it the best bean emote? I mean, definitely top 5 bean emotes on Twitch, I would say. Yeah, but that's funny. And thanks for that follow, Mr. Orangutan. Mr. Orangutan. Oh, is the number updating? I think it is. What's the deal with beans? It's like an inside joke. If you look at my YouTube channel, youtube.com/codinggardenwithcj, you can also do ! YouTube in the chat to get a link. But we've been doing this series on the home inventory app, and I've been using baked beans as an example of data that we're storing in our database. So that is what we are referencing when we're talking about baked beans. I should probably get a clip of me explaining the whole baked beans thing. But I'm pretty excited about the baked beans. What was yesterday? I don't think I streamed yesterday. And thank you, Face Dude, for that follow. And again, Dev8, thanks for that follow. Jeff! What's up? Oh, thanks you, Mr. Orangutan. Much appreciated. And Sasan, hello. Destroyer says, I'm new to this, but I want to see what you can do. Well, thank you very much. This is episode 47, so we've done a lot of these episodes where basically we choose some coding problems, and I solve them on the spot. Most of the time, I've never seen the problem before, so you can see my thought process and how I break it down. And today, we're going to do some easier ones, so anybody that's a new programmer can still learn, because we've been doing some pretty advanced stuff on the channel lately, and I just want to let everyone know that beginners are welcome to. You can see the stream schedule down there. And I think if you do !schedule, you should get a link to the schedule. And hello, Vladimir. I do this show every Wednesday at this time, so you can be sure of that. Yeah, I have been. So Mastermind is great. I always host them. Instafluff, I've host. Who else? There's Anthony Writes Code. I've host them every now and then. I don't have auto host on. Yeah, and those of you, that's the thing. You don't even have to be a new programmer. Those of you new to JavaScript can learn stuff here too. All right, thank you, a real human being. That's very, very nice. You're my hero. Oh, thank you so much. The leaderboard is the drop game. All right, everyone do this. So in the chat, you can do !drop followed by an emote or an emoji. Or if you do !drop me, it'll drop your wonderful avatar. And if, oh, look at this. This is a great drop. If it lands in the center, you'll get a perfect 100. Oh, okay. I'm at the top, 94.2. That's the leaderboard. Look at that. Look at the coding garden. Oh, Radness, thank you for that stretch. TinyCC was the smallest and freest URL shortener. I could use a different one. Yeah. So I think it was Sean who bumped me at the last second. Nice. Yeah. So that's that. Let's see if there's anything else. Hello, Doc. What's up, Doc? Welcome, hacker. I think Terrazoid's in the chat. Terrazoid originally made the pull request, which added collision detection. So when the drops hit each other, they bounce off each other. Oh, nice drop. Destroyers. Okay. We're almost done saying hellos. Oh, I missed. Oh, oh, thank you, Srinivas, very much. And hello, Raider. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Is that a good URL shortener? I might have to check it out. Okay, time's up. We've been live for about 20 minutes. The first 10 minutes of that was just the opening screen. Let's write some code. So, if you're new to all of this, you can go to codewars.com. You can sign up. And actually, let me do this. Let me know right now. Okay, in the chat. Actually, I guess I could do a poll, but let me know in the chat. If you've been programming for less than 6 months or not at all, type 1 in the chat. Less than 6 months. Awesome. You're all very, very welcome here. And thank you, Hayes, for that follow. I know, Bob, you've been programming longer than that. And Andrew. Come on. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. So this website, Code Wars, is a place where you can practice coding. And they have a lot of different languages. And you can sign up. But the interesting thing here is whenever you sign up, it's going to ask you to complete a challenge. I'm going to show you how to complete this challenge. I feel like it's less than 6 months. 2? Yeah, actually, let me do a poll. Mastermind did a poll earlier just to get an idea of like all the people in the chat. All right, here we go. Poll. How long? Not one. Have you been programming? Let's say not at all, because that might be some people. Not at all. Less than 6 months. 1 to 2 years, or 6 to 1 year. Oh wait, no, 6 months. I could do this. 6 months to 1 year. 1 to 2 years. 2+ years. All right. Go. All right. You can vote on that. Just let me know. But for those of you that are brand new, this website, codewars.com, you can practice coding. You can choose many different languages. I like to use JavaScript. It's my preferred thing. But you can choose whatever you like, or whatever they offer. And you're most likely going to be presented with something like this. Now, some people have complained that this is kind of like gatekeeping into the website. But it's really just to show you how the site works, because it lets you type in code, then you can click run to run the test against it to see if it's working. But this is usually what you'll be presented with when you try to sign up. So this says, the code does not execute properly. Try to figure out why. There is no poll link. I think you can vote on mobile. Does anyone know? Yeah, no link. I think you do like ! Or you click it at the top. I don't know how it works on mobile. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. But, okay, this code does not execute properly. Try to figure out why. Now, for someone who's been programming for a few months, you could probably figure this out. So we have this function. It's called multiply. It takes in A and B, and we need to calculate that result. Posture check. Thank you. Strategy first. Yeah, so Jeffrey has it. It's missing the return statement. And if you're new to coding, you may not have seen that, but basically when we write a function, we have to write the return keyword to get the value out of the function. So to fix this code, I have to put the return keyword. But if I click submit without doing that, it'll show me that some tests have failed. So we need to try again. So really all you got to do is add the return keyword, and that should fix this function. Return. Submit. It'll show you that the tests are passed. Awesome. And then you can actually sign up for the site. But this is really just to show you how codewars.com works. It's not really meant to keep people out, but it's just to show you how it works. It's pretty cool. Sign up. And thank you, Nah17Go, for that follow. Let's see. So there's quite a bit of 2+ year programmers in here, and just a few, not at all. But that's great. You're all welcome. Hopefully we can all learn something tonight. This is not the winner. This is just the majority. That doesn't mean it's the winner. Yeah, so and that's the other thing that we'll talk about tonight is in JavaScript there are multiple ways to solve things. And an arrow function actually is like a less verbose way of doing it, but with this there's an implicit return, but return, yeah. And so, yeah, and we can talk about that tonight with functions, but basically in JavaScript, if you want to get a value out of a function, you have to use the return keyword. You don't use console log, all that good stuff. All right. Did I miss any follows? I'm really proud of this new search feature. Follow. Nah17, thanks for that follow. Bellhance, Face Dude, thank you all for those follows. Okay. But 2 years doesn't mean I'm good. That's true. 2+ wins onto the 4 Qs. No. So A and B were assigned. They came in as parameters into the function. But you know what? Let's just break it down. Let's talk about that first problem. And we'll write some code. So here's what I like to do is write the code locally. So I'm going to go into my code Katas directory. And if you want to learn how to use the terminal, check out Mastermind's channel. Can we get a shout out for Mastermind? Mastermundio? I think Andrew knows how to spell it. He was hanging out in there earlier. But he'll teach you how to use the terminal. I don't really have any resources on learning the terminal. But we're going to make a directory, episode number 47. And this is where we're going to write our code. What do I think of Dino? Dino is awesome. If you subscribe to Fireship on YouTube, he posted a video recently with like a really simple breakdown. Dino is really cool. I don't know if it's going to take off, but it's really cool. Add.js. All right, we're going to write ourselves a nice little function. Yeah, it reached 1.0, so it's somewhat stable, I guess. Is the only difference between JavaScript and TypeScript that it's strongly typed and we can use data type declarations. There are more differences than that, but that's the major one. TypeScript adds type annotations to JavaScript, whereas JavaScript itself is a dynamically typed language that doesn't have strict typing. And thank you, Nani, for that follow. And Hardly Real, thanks for the follow. And Destroyers, thank you for the follow. Oh, I didn't redeem that posture check. Sorry. Here we go. I love this site, but then I have to deal with the code timing out on like a 5Q. Yeah, so the harder ones get tricky. You have to make sure that they don't time out. You have to write a performance solution. It's crazy. You cannot fast forward the stream. We're about to do it. Okay, so we have this function called add. It takes in A and B. Focus mode. Oh, thank you, Andrew. So we're going to turn on emote only mode for the next 8 minutes, and I'm going to explain this add function. Here we go. Emote only mode. So we have this function called add, and the code that we saw on Code Wars just had a. Oh no, sorry, it's multiply. A times B, like this. And let me rename this file. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to rename it to be what this thing is doing. Multiply.js. Excuse me. Okay, so we have this function called multiply. It takes in A and B. And then we have this statement here, A times B. Now, in JavaScript, A times B works. And let me show you in a node console. So this is a way of running JavaScript in your console, but I could do, let's do 12 times 2. No, not and. 12 times 2. We get back 24. That's not what I want to do. I want to do 24 times 2. No, 21 times 2. There it is. I can math. 42. But in JavaScript, you can write expressions like this. However, if we want to get this value out of the expression, we have to use the return keyword. So I'll show you right now. If we were to call that function, so we'll say like result equals multiply, and let's say we want to multiply the value 21 and 2. We pass it in like that. We want to get the value out, and then we want to do something with the value. In this case, I'm just going to log the result. Now, if you're new to JavaScript, the thing about JavaScript is semicolons are optional, but you can see that I prefer semicolons, so my editor is like, hey, and you can see that red squiggly line. So we're going to add semicolons just because I prefer that, but just know that they're optional. Okay, let's run this code. I'm going to use this tool called Quaka.js to run the code. And we can see that right now, result is undefined. So in JavaScript, undefined is what you get when there is not a value. It's the absence of a value. There are other things in JavaScript that are an absence of a value, but undefined is one of those things. And what happens is, in a function, if you do not put the return keyword, that function will return undefined. So that's what's happening right now. There's no return keyword, so we're not getting anything out of that function. So if I do return, suddenly our code works. So now when we look at that result, it is the result of 21 times 2. We get back 42. So that's pretty awesome. But that's one thing to know about JavaScript is in functions, there's an implicit return, meaning if you don't put the return keyword, it's like you actually wrote code that did this. You literally returned undefined. You don't have to write that. That happens by default. But don't forget the return keyword. So we return 42 from this function, and we return the result of multiplying a times b, and then we can actually use it. If you're new to functions, void 0. That's another like non-value. If you're new to functions, we can actually reuse this function. So we can create a new variable like result2, and we can call it again. That's a nice thing about functions. They're reusable. So let's say I want to multiply 13 and 5. I can pass in those two values, and then if I want to look at the result, I can log result2, and we get back 65. Nice. So that was the main thing that was wrong with this function, is it was missing the return keyword. And just by adding it, so if I remove it, again, the functions are returning undefined, but if I add it, they're doing that. Now, I mentioned I'm using this thing called Quaka.js. You can check it out at, I think it's quakajs.com. It's a really cool tool that runs inside of your editor, and it actually like runs the code here. But another way to run this code would be to use node.js. So let's get out of here. And I have it installed on my machine, but if I say node multiply.js, it's going to run the code that's inside of that file, and we see the output in the terminal, 42 and 65. So there are multiple ways to run it. Typically, when I'm using doing code wars, I use this thing called Quaka to run my code. Awesome. So that's the main stuff. We still have focus mode for like 4 more minutes. So what should we do? What should we do? I think I actually want to take a poll. So what I want to do is I'm going to filter. So if I go to codewars.com, I can end it. Can I though? Is that okay? Is that kosher? I'll end it. I'll end it and catch up on the chat. Focus end. All right, that was a good solid 4 minutes of focus. Thank you very much to Andrew for redeeming that. Yeah. All right. Let me see if I missed anything. I think I did miss some follows. Thank you, Karaflal, for that follow. Look at all those emotes. Sub only chat? I don't know. Maybe. I don't like things being like pay to play. Except for emotes. You got to pay for the emotes. And thank you, Wersak, for that follow, and CSB in DC. And C. Hedegra, thank you for seeing Guerra. Thank you for that follow as well. Hardly. Yeah. And TS Sutton, thank you. TJ Sutton, thank you for that follow as well. Okay, what questions do you have? Noise. So I found my first ever programming project. Wait, what? Oh, the first code you ever wrote? That'd be cool to see. Oh, that's a good point, Artifacts. All right, we're going to go back into focus mode. We're going to go back into focus mode for, let's do 4 more minutes. And what I'm going to show you is there are other ways to write functions. Now, if you're a JavaScript beginner, I would say just focus on the function keyword, because writing these other functions, it could get confusing. There's multiple ways to write the syntax, but we're going to show that. And I'm going to hydrate. Thank you for redeeming that. Today, I am drinking sparkling water with caffeine and electrolytes, citrus green tea. Cheers. Baked beans. Okay, so this is one way to write the function. So I'm going to comment out the code. That means that this code doesn't exist anymore. And so now it's complaining, hey, multiply is not a thing, but let's define it in another way. So another way we can define functions is as what are called arrow functions. So I'm going to create a function called multiply. And the interesting thing about arrow functions is they're anonymous functions. We could talk about function things all day, but basically the syntax looks like this. So I have A and B, and then I want to write a function, and just you wait, I'm going to write it in multiple ways. I want to write a function that returns A times B. Now, if we look at it, my code still works, right? I get back 42, I get back 65. The code works in the same way. Because I'm a semicolon person, when I'm using this syntax, I actually need a semicolon there, whereas when I'm using this syntax, I don't need a semicolon there. But this works. Awesome. This is one way to look at arrow function syntax. There are a lot of implications here that don't really, in this context, don't really matter, but there are things about functions like the fact that they have the this keyword. You can bind the this keyword, you can change the context. Don't worry about that. But with this, you actually can't do that. So there's some special things about it. Now, who was it again? Thank you. Who was it? The artifacts. The artifacts mentioned implicit return. So what if I don't like typing the return keyword? You can actually write the function like this. I could also say const multiply equals a times b. Well, equals an arrow function that takes in a and b and returns a times b. And when you look at that, the code still works. So with arrow functions, you can leave off the curly braces and then you have an implicit return. So you actually don't have to put the return keyword, and this function will automatically return that one statement. Now, as you can see, this is a whole lot less verbose. For anybody new to all the syntax, this might be weird to look at, but this is also a way to write the function. There's a time and a place for this. When we're talking about higher order methods like map, filter, reduce, different things like that, it's a lot of times it makes sense to write your functions this way, but for all intents and purposes, I think I used that phrase right. For all intents and purposes, these three different ways to write the function in this context, in the idea that I want a function that returns the multiplication of two values, all three of these functions fundamentally do the same thing. Now, for this challenge, which way would I write it? I don't know. I'd probably write it this way, even though this is shorter. I kind of like how explicit this is, and every now and then I might actually use arrow functions, but so yeah. Different ways to write a function. Cool. All right, I'm going to turn off focus mode. Bob's paradox is not partner. All right, can we turn off emote only mode? I actually don't know how to do that. And actually, yeah, for those of you that mentioned it, I sadly did not get approved to be partner. I applied probably like roughly 20 days ago, but it didn't happen. But they did say that they want to make sure that my channel is still growing. And I'm sorry, Unhot. So they want to make sure that my channel is still growing, and I can reapply in 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, you know, it ain't no thing. It ain't no thing. All right, the artifacts has a comment. There's a caveat that the implicit return only works if the return of the function is on the same line and is a single statement. I believe it can be on the next line, but it does have to be a single statement. And that's the other thing where you can run into issues here. If you're trying to have an implicit return with an object, you actually need parentheses, so it gets a little bit different. I think technically I can write that. You actually can have it on the next line, but it's a single statement. You can't have if you are a JavaScript programmer that uses semicolons, you could not write code in here that would have needed to end in multiple semicolons. So technically, I can put it on a new line, but I can't do multiple things here. I can't say like const thing equals what or equals what. Technically, this is actually outside of the function, and it's like defining it right there. Code Wars for noobs. Well, thank you, Ivo. Yeah, and I'll just reapply. And for those of you watching, if you could make sure to tune in whenever I'm live, that actually helps because it shows Twitch that people want to watch me. And thank you, Loic G, for that follow. Let me acknowledge any follows that I missed. I think that was it. Thank you all. Command F to fall. That's funny. Code Wars for noobs. Okay, what are we doing? Let's actually do a Code Wars problem. So we talked about the basics of functions. I mentioned I would actually use this, but let's try to solve a problem. So yeah, I don't know. You're right, Acid Spark. I think the main issue is that I was cross-streaming to YouTube and Twitch. So my numbers were split across platforms. And now that I'm only streaming on Twitch, there are some viewers from YouTube that haven't made it over yet. But my numbers did get a bump when it was roughly a week ago when I switched to Twitch only. But yeah. All right, the artifact says, Good to know. I believe also in JavaScript we'll attempt to guess where the semicolon is meant to go. Exactly, yeah. So that's why I mentioned earlier that you don't necessarily need semicolons. There's this thing called automatic semicolon insertion. Your code will still work, but I like to write semicolons. So yeah, you didn't technically need to write that semicolon there, and you could write your code like that, and it still technically works. Yeah, but if you put the A and B on the next line, it returns undefined because it attempts to put the semicolon after the return. Not quite, no. So basically, the JavaScript parser sees that I have an arrow function here, and it's just going to keep reading. So the thing that's trying to execute my code is going to keep reading till it sees some valid syntax, and then that essentially becomes a part of the arrow function, which is, it's weird, isn't it? Don't ever write your code like this. I might just do this for madness, like create single line functions and just put like a ton of space in between. So somebody comes across your code and they're like, what does that even do? Like, oh, A times B. Don't do this. Don't ever do this. Okay. Hey, Twitch, be like, oh, thank you, Cheyenne. I stream this exact show every Wednesday, but you can look down there. I always have to think, do I point there, down there at my stream schedule? And if you do ! schedule, you'll get a link to it. Oh, thank you, Unhot. Oh, welcome, Zach. Welcome to the Twitch side. Oh, in my second version. Yeah. Okay. Understood. We're going to move on, though. But I appreciate your comments. Because we're learning. We're learning. And this, Marvin, thank you for that follow. White space isn't significant in JavaScript is why. Yeah. You can also use unlimited semicolons. Yeah, I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough semicolons. Okay, if you learned something in the past 10 minutes, type 1 in the chat. Just let me know. Let me know. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to choose an 8Q kata. So 8Q is the easiest. They are the easiest katas. Oh, Bellhance with the sub! No way! Thank you very much, Bellhance. Much appreciated. Welcome. Point 3. Okay, does that mean you learned a little bit, One Pocket Pimp? Thank you so much. You can now use the beloved Baked Beans emote. Though if you're new here, you might not really get the reference. But that's okay. It's a really good bean. You can also just do the Coding Garden Heart. That's a good one. It means I was about to learn and then I forgot the lesson. All right. Okay. So we're going to choose 8Q, which is one of the easiest. I'll show you how to navigate this. I like to sort this by most completed. So the thing about Code Wars is all of the problems are user submitted, and sometimes the problem description, I keep spitting when I'm talking. Sometimes the problem description is very hard to parse, very hard to understand. So if you sort by most completed, you're going to see the katas that the majority of people have been able to complete, which means that the problem description is probably pretty good. The other thing is I'm going to sort by katas that I have not trained on. So I'm going to see things that are completely and totally new to me, so that I can learn by trying these new things. Hello, Jitesh. Welcome. Oh, you never tried multiple semicolons. Nice. You can add infinite semicolons, yeah. Well, the thing, shout out to, who was it? Yeah, Peak for mentioning multiple semicolons. I personally make no spaces in my code so that no one can know what it does and remake it in a better way. There are what are known as like deminifiers or like formatters that could fix that. The Yerba emote, nice. Do I know why Code Wars editor would be in insert mode? Like you type on the left side of a character and it overwrites the character on the right. You can change the mode of an editor. Let me see really quick when we get into this. And thanks again, Bellhance, for that tier 1 sub. Very much appreciated. Stream topic? What do you mean by that? I get the need to shorten code, but when it comes to functions, they're easy to follow in the first version. Exactly. And the thing is, when you're working on a team, when you're working with other developers, you want to write code that is going to be easy for them to understand. Code that does not have a high mental load, or does not require a high mental load to understand. Code Wars, if you do ! Code Wars, you'll get a link, but just codewars.com. Yep. Oh. Deminifiers, yeah. Yeah, so you can deminify code. There's actually people that have written things that can take minified code and try to infer better variable names, which is crazy. Any kata related to multiple semicolons? There might be. I think I have a problem with using Stack Overflow. Even if I'm trying to add two numbers, I'll just copy it off Stack Overflow. Well, you can install a browser extension that prevents how often you go to a place. Now, let it be known, Stack Overflow is great. I use it on a daily basis, even as a professional developer. But for something like that, you should, I don't know. We come up with code word challenges. You actually can. You can. If you submit an issue here on github.com/codinggarden/code-katas, you can submit an issue and I'll try to solve it. There was just all the submissions are really hard. Lemao. And thank you, Majid Rimois, for that follow. Coming up with the names for variables and functions. It is. Is there a stream schedule topic? Yeah, so right now, Monday mornings and Friday mornings is code clashes. So there's this website called Coding Game that we like to play, where we can attempt to solve a coding problem in a competitive way. So we try to be the fastest one to complete it, or the person that can do it in the least number of characters. So we play this every Monday and Friday, at least for now. Pretty soon it might get old, or the problems will get way too hard. Camera autofocus. Is it back? All right. Let's just work through these. Let's do as many 8Qs as we can and ask as many questions as you have, or as many questions that come up. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Thank you, Llama Kid, for that follow. I like your name. I found Moxie Marlinspike's take on code shortening a couple days ago really interesting. I've never heard of them. And thank you, Sample Text, for that follow. We're getting really close to 4,200 subs. Really close. So, will we get there today? I don't know. All right, we're going to try this problem. Is x divisible by y? So here is the link. If you want to try it, you can try it at home. Just click that link. You'll need to solve that first problem if you're signing up on Code Wars, but we're going to give it a try. So is in divisible by x and y? Create a function that checks if a number in is divisible by two numbers, x and y. All inputs are positive, non-zero digits. So if we are given 3, and we are given the values 1 and 3, we return true because 3 is divisible by 1 and 3. Now, I will say that not all problems on Code Wars are math related. I'll show really quick before we get into this. Over on the left-hand side, you can filter by different tags. But right now, this is a math-focused problem. I will say that you don't have to be that good at math to do programming. A lot of these challenges involve math, but there are some that don't, and they're just good for practicing skills. I'll get that out of the way. Hello, Imphy. Welcome. I am live. Will solving katas, is it fine if I refer to Google? Absolutely. I would say don't Google the exact question, because there are a lot of people that have posted their solutions to the problem, and you want to try to solve it without just copy and pasting someone else's solution. So I'll show you mine. What oh, are these cheer motes? Are these cheer motes? I don't have cheer mote support. Or maybe it's a different, I don't know. Is math related to science? All right, so we're gonna get into this, and I'm gonna pretend like I know nothing about how to do this with JavaScript, and I'll tell you how I would approach it. So, and actually, I'll go ahead and just use the Code Wars editor so you can see how that works. I typically like to bring I'm gonna bring the code down locally. All right, we're gonna create a new file. Is indivisible by x and y.js. Put our function in, and it's not a chimera. Okay. I do have better Twitch TV. I don't know if I have BBTV. I don't know about that. And I think there were some questions, so let me catch up. Yeah, the problems get really hard on code clashes for sure. That's why I stopped competing, but when I watch you guys every time, the problem is like add 1 + 1. Yeah, every now and then you get an easy one. I hate math. It's what keeps throwing me off in all exercises. Yeah, the thing, like I mentioned, try to filter the math ones out, because you can practice all kinds of coding concepts without actually using math. Leon Hart says, your streams are really good. It's 6 a.m., off to bed. This work from home routine is really hard. It is, Leon, but thank you for dropping by. Probably my morning streams, so Friday morning I'll be streaming. It might be a better time for you. In general, does it matter how you solve a problem? Sean with 1,000 bits. You're too kind, Sean. Sean, I believe it was Sean, gifted a bunch of subs yesterday. Or 2 days ago. Yeah, with all the cheer. Sean? No, that was Shine's Love. But I think Sean did get, yeah, 5 gifted subs. Can we get some emotes in the chat for Sean? Thank you very much for those bits. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Okay, does it matter how you solve a problem, or the main point is the end result / working solution / test? Yeah, and I'll show that. The main idea is, can you return from your function the correct result given the inputs? So on Code Wars, there are these tests down here that run your function with different inputs and test to see if your function returns the right output. So if I click test right now, wait. Okay, why? Who can tell me in the chat? I'm going to catch up in a second, but who can tell me in the chat, for 100 invisible coding garden points, why did my function fail right now? Right now. Let me know. What was, oh, the one from Peak, I think. Best thing about Code Katas is when you submit, you see other solutions. Yeah, so we'll show when I'm done. You can see how everyone else solved it. Yeah. Is indivisible or is indivisible? I'll pretend I know nothing and show you how I would approach it. I would start by watching the coding garden. And thanks again for those bits, Sean. Big bits. So math isn't, I would say not. I would say learning about how to manipulate different data types like arrays and objects. Once you know the basics of the programming language itself, JavaScript, then there is DOM manipulation, which is actual browser-based coding. And that's another thing you absolutely don't need math for. I would say iteration, like you have a list or an array, you need to iterate over it and do things. That's one thing that you should know how to do to be able to make websites and write JavaScript. That's really one of the main things. You're going to be doing a lot of that. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Just loops and if statements. No return. Yes, there's no return. But what does that mean when there's no return? They fail because they don't succeed. Exactly. Yeah, so that's a good point. So some of these problems you can solve any way you want, but if your solution doesn't run fast enough, it will fail. Now, for these easier ones, they usually don't have a timeout. But for harder ones, they will make sure that your code runs within a certain amount of time. No return. Okay, but what does it mean that we have no return? We talked about it. Coding skills are more dependent on language skills than math skills. Yes. Yes. Returns undefined. Ryuku beat. Oh, and Sean got it. So by default, we didn't have a return statement, so it returns undefined, right? So we can see that expected false instead got undefined. Expected true instead got undefined. So yeah, and the thing about Code Wars is you don't actually call your function. You just put your code inside of this function, and they're going to call the function for you. You can see how they call the function down here. Cool. So it returns undefined. And thank you, Johanchia, for that follow, and Humanissimo for that follow. The timeout for the drop game is 90 seconds. Okay, so we're going to put these tests here. Instead of tests.assert similar, I'm just going to do a console.log. And we should see my output. So I'm going to start up Quokka, and we'll see that right now, all of my function calls return undefined when they should have returned some other value. Now, let's try to solve this thing. So we have to determine, is in divisible by x and y? Now, the first thing that I would search, if I knew nothing about JavaScript, the first thing that I would search is JavaScript. Check if, oh, thank you, Andrew Lane. Andrew Lane has all the points to redeem focus mode. All right, we're going to focus for 8 minutes. Here we go. So, the first thing I would search is JavaScript. Check if number is, you keep refunding it. Check if number is divisible by another number. So this is what going to be my web search. Now, I use a thing called DuckDuckGo, which is a search engine. You can use Google, Bing, whatever you like. But this is my search term. Let's see what we get. All right, the first result is Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is a great place where programmers can ask questions and get answers. Let's see. So this person got downvoted. I want to check whether a number 7 is divisible by another number 5. If the number is divisible by the number, then I need to return the same number. Okay. Now, this person just provided the solution. That's not very helpful. This also isn't very helpful. These people are not very helpful. All right. Divisible by 5 in JavaScript. Let's see this. Planet source code. They have to renew their SSL certificate, so that's not going to work. Find if a number is divisible by 3 or 5. Here we go. How do I change the output depending on whether or not it's divisible by 3 or 5? Okay. Okay. This is really unhelpful. This is and Gabriel with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much for that, Gabriel. Okay, we're going to search Google because DuckDuckGo was not that helpful. So let's try this first result from Google. How do I find if a variable is divisible by 2? Furthermore, I need to do a function. Okay. Here we go. This is the answer that I was looking for. Use modulus. So modulus is a thing in mathematics that will return the division of the remainder of the division. Let's take a quick stretch. If you're at home, take your hands off the keyboard. Maybe stand up for a second or two. Wait until I see Bing. Yeah, so that's really interesting. DuckDuckGo is not that helpful. So maybe if you're just starting with programming, use Google instead. I don't know why I just said that. But yeah, okay. So modulus is the thing that I was looking for. And in JavaScript, there is this %, which is the modulus operator. So you can take some value, like in, and say, what is the remainder of the division by some other number? Now, what they're checking here is if we get the remainder of the division by 2, and if that is equal to 0, then what does that mean? If something is divisible by 2, that means it's even. So this is a very common way in JavaScript to, or in any programming language, to check if something is even. Is it divisible by 2? So basically what we want is the modulus operator. I'm going to show you another website. It's called MDN. Modulus? Did I spell that right? How do we spell modulus? I think I spelled it right. Oh, no, modulo. Is it the modulo? 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 Modulo. Oh, man. This is so unhelpful. I'm just going to search for operators. Logical operators? Arithmetic operators. Here we go. Here we go. There's addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, remainder. Here we go. So the remainder operator returns the remainder left over when one operand is divided by a second operand. So this is what we need in JavaScript. So the remainder of of 12 divided by 5 is 2, because 5 times 2 is 10. There's 2 left over. The 2 left over is the remainder of the division. And I probably said that in a weird way, but this is the operator that we need. Okay, so this problem is saying we need to return true if in is divisible by both x and y. So we're going to break this down and write it like one step at a time. So I'm going to say is divisible by x. I'm going to create a variable called is divisible by x, and I'm going to set that equal to in mod x, and I need to check to see is the remainder of the division equal to 0, because if the remainder of the division is equal to 0, then that means it is divisible. So this expression on the right hand side of the equals will say what is the remainder. Well, right here it says what's the remainder of the division by x, and is that equal to 0? If it's equal to 0, is divisible by x will have the value true. If not, is divisible by x will have the value false. Great. Now I'm just going to do the same thing for y. So I'll say is divisible by y, and we'll do in mod y double equals 0. All right, now I have 2 Boolean values. I have, in which are true false. So I have whether or not it's divisible by x and whether or not it's divisible by y. Hide the CJ is in focus mode right now. Message is in focus mode. No way. I want to remind people in the chat manager. Okay, so we have these 2 variables. Now we want to know, are they both true? Now this requires knowing a little bit about Booleans, but I'll show you really quick. If you're in a web browser, either Firefox or Chrome, you can open up the developer tools. If you just right click on a page and say inspect element, that's going to bring up this thing. And if you click on console, we can write JavaScript here that just executes immediately. So this is what I'm going to use to just kind of like show you some stuff. So true is a Boolean value. So if I say, let's say 12 divided by 6 is equal to 0. True, because the remainder of the division by 6 is 0, because 12 is evenly divisible by 6. So that results in true. If I do 12 mod 5 equals 0, that's going to give me false, because the remainder of the division is 2. So these are Boolean values. Now I want to know if these 2 variables, is divisible by x and is divisible by y, are both true. So what I can do is use the AND operator. So I want to know true and true. I don't know if it's true or not, but I want to know 12 mod 6 double equals 0 and 12 mod 5 double equals 0. So I can have two expressions. This one results in a Boolean. This one results in a Boolean. And if I use the AND operator, it's going to tell me if both of those things are true. And in this case, it results in false because this one is false. This one's true, but this one's false. So that's really all I got to do. I'm going to say return is divisible by x and is divisible by y. Pretty simple. And now we get false, we get true, we get false, we get true. So my function's working. This is the code that we need. I absolutely could use double equals. There's a lot of different ways that we could have written this, and I'll show you that next. But that's it. This was first of all, it was tricky to even find the word modulus. Like, how do I figure that out in JavaScript? The thing is, you didn't technically need a modulus. If you knew about loops, did I say double equals? Okay, triple equals. This is triple equals. We'll talk about that in a second. But technically, you could have written a loop that subtracts a value from another value until that value is less than the value that you're subtracting. And if that value is 0, it's divisible. Basically, division is just a bunch of subtraction. But I don't know. That's all mathy stuff. All right, I'm going to end the focus mode. We're going to talk about this code that I just wrote because there's a lot of different ways to write it. But if I were to take this code and put it into Code Wars, it should pass for these basic tests. So I'm going to put that code there. I'll do test. Samwise Gardner. And we get all passing tests. Yes! What is this emote? I see people using that. I don't think I have it. Oh, it's global? Power up? Oh, that's awesome. Okay. I need a better way to enable focus mode. I think it's fine. What's wrong with the way that I have? I think it's fine. All right, let me acknowledge any follows that happened, and then we'll break down this code. So, Pixel English, thank you for that follow. I guess that was the only one. Follow me. Oh, that's cool too. What is this one? Stop it. Stop it. Oh, War Witch TV. Too slow. Okay. Yes. There's Octopus CJ. It doesn't it, Elite Rose? Yeah, so that's like on that very first one that we saw, they got downvoted just for asking the question. It's tricky. I will say, if you join the Coding Garden Discord, you can ask any question you want there. We'll never say that it's a bad question. We might help you rephrase the question, or we're definitely going to ask you for what you've done so far to figure things out. But yeah, it's kind of lame that they did get downvoted. I had a yerba this morning, yeah. Okay, let's talk about what's going on here. So, could we do our ampersand on is divisible? Yeah, so one thing I'm going to show is you technically don't need separate variables. Oh, is that Oscar the Grouch? That's cool. Oh, flying baked beans! Okay, so I'll show you another way to write this function. Is instead of putting these things in variables. So I wrote them in variables because it makes the code much easier to read, I think. So I'm gonna take a quick stretch. Thank you, Grenade Raven, for the stretch. Ooh. Oh, that's that CJ is a little defunct. And Khalil has it, right? So instead of defining two separate variables, I technically can just take this expression and replace it where I put the variable. And then I could take this expression and replace it where the variable was. And this should work in exactly the same way. False, false, true, true, false, false, true, true. So it works. If you're new to coding, this is probably a little bit more readable because there's a lot of weird syntax going on here. Like there's this and there's this. The other thing that I'll show is in JavaScript, you don't always have to use the triple equals. You actually could use double equals, and this will still work. But there are some implications. Double equals and triple equals don't necessarily return the same thing all the time when you're comparing two different values. But in this scenario, we're comparing two numbers. The result of this is a number. The result of this is a number. So it doesn't really matter. And the result of this is a number. And the result of this is a number. So the equator, the equalizer, works in both cases. Rand says, it seems like an if statement would be good for beginners. Yeah, let's check that out. So right now, I'm just returning that value there. Let's actually see this with an if statement, because if statement, you can do different things based on something. So the result of this expression, like I showed, is a Boolean, right? Yeah, so triple equals compares type and value. Double equals compares value after performing the coercion algorithm. So you can look up JavaScript coercion to see about that. All right, see you later, Infi. Thanks for hanging out with us. Okay. Yes, so let's show this with an if statement. So instead of immediately just returning this, I can say, if is divisible by x and is divisible by y, return true. Else, return false. Now, this code works in exactly the same way because the result of this expression is a Boolean. The result of this expression is either true or false. So if I return it, we're going to get the same thing. So you could write it like this. This is a shorter way of writing it. This is probably a preferred way of writing it because you don't have as much code. But this is a bit more verbose and potentially a little bit more clear. The other thing you could do, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a million different ways to solve this. But the other thing you could do is you could remove this second else. Because if a function returns, the code below it never actually runs. So when it is divisible, it's going to return true, and the code down here never runs. But if it's not divisible, then it's going to return false. Or we could use a ternary. Yeah, we can get crazy with this. So instead of doing that, we could do this. So an if statement is a very verbose way of saying if this condition, run the code inside of the curly braces. I mean, technically, before I get too far, I'll show you that you don't actually need the curly braces here because it is just one line. So you could write it like this. We could have also written the if-else statement. Solve in TypeScript for more clarification. I could try. We could use an arrow function. There's a million and one ways. I'll just say this right now. If you're new to all this and you're getting overwhelmed by all the different ways, don't worry about that. Just make it work. Just make it work. Yeah, so we just have the return statement here. Technically, because this gets turned into a single line, we could use an arrow function for implicit return. I would say don't worry. There's so many ways. There are so many ways. But just write the way that works and makes sense to you. Eventually, after you've gotten enough experience and you've solved these things many different times, you'll start to see different solutions. But yeah. Yeah. And I think, what did Doc share just now? Wait. Not in mod x and not. Yeah, because it's the result is truthy falsy. Oh, it's getting weird. We're getting weird here. And SirStream, thank you for that follow. Yeah, so there are no silly questions. We're here to help. Okay, the thing is, when we start writing this, we get into the laws of Boolean logic and operators. Yeah, premature optimization is absolutely an enemy when we're starting out. So what that means is you have working code, but now you're trying to make it faster, or you're trying to rework it. If you're just starting out and you've got working code, just stop there. All right, what was I going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to show we technically could write this on a single line like this. So we could take this return false and do return true like that. And then we can have our else on a single line. Discrete mathematics. Yes. You'll learn about Boolean logic in there for sure. So this works too, because technically an if statement and an else statement can be written on a single line. Yep. Let's talk about what Doc did, because that's actually getting into truthy falsy. So we'll actually write it out this way. So I'll write it out like this, and I'll create new variables. So in mod x, this is remainder of division by x. That's that. And then in mod y is remainder of the division by y. Now, if this is 0, 0 is technically a falsy value in JavaScript. So we could say if remainder of division by x and remainder of division by y, return true, otherwise return false, and this should still work. No, this won't work. So basically, okay, let's talk about that. Yeah, I need the exclamation mark, but let's talk about why this is going to work. It's getting weird. And thank you for that follow, ProTrepro and OP Seeker. Okay, so in JavaScript, 0 is considered a falsy value. So I could do something like if 0 console.log never. That console log will never run because 0 is a falsy value. And basically, JavaScript will convert it into a Boolean. Now, one way you can convert something into a Boolean is to use the not operator. So the exclamation mark says, for a Boolean, the opposite. So if we do not true, we get back false. If we do not false, we get back true. Now, because 0 is a falsy value, if we do not 0, we get back true. So right here, it's kind of the same thing as doing this, because 0 is a falsy value. So not 0 actually gives us back true. Let's take a quick stretch. And thank you, Trapcoin, for that follow. We are 7 followers away from 4,200. Master Ryan with the raid! Welcome, everyone! Welcome. Actually, I don't know. Are there ads on my channel? Is anyone saying an ad right now? Welcome! Welcome to the show! You came at a perfect time. You came at a perfect time. We are teaching beginner JavaScript today. Complete and total beginner JavaScript. If you are new to coding, if you're new to programming, literally ask anything you want. And I'll try to answer. 100 bits from Purple Shadow. Thank you so much, Purple Shadow. Look at all the follows. We're 6 away from 4,200. Something special is going to happen when we get to 4,200 subs. Oh my god. No way. That's okay. My follower count can't keep up. You're going to break my overlays. We definitely just made it to 4,200. So if you give my overlay a second, it's gonna update. There it is. Oh. Thank you all so much. Thank you. We made it to 42. We made it way past 4,200, like in an instant. Thank you so much, Mastermind, for that raid. Perfect timing. Bell Hands with the 100 bits. Thank you so much. It's very relevant. We wrote this function right here. 42. I am so happy. Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. You have arrived at the Coding Garden. I mostly code in JavaScript and teach in JavaScript. And today is the Code Katas stream. So Code Wars is a website where you can practice coding. You can practice all kinds of different languages. We in particular I in particular am using JavaScript, but you can use Python, anything else. And they're coding challenges where you can practice and learn coding. But today, we're doing very, very basic challenges, and I'm answering any and all questions that you have about JavaScript. And when you arrived, and thank you all so much for all the follows. I've never seen that many follows in an instant. But there was a special surprise when we made it past 4,200 followers, because it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. 42 is. I'm not going to stream for 42 hours. But when you arrived, we were actually talking about booleans, true-false values in JavaScript. Let's start over. We'll start talking about booleans and truthy falsy. Oh my goodness, Gene with the bits. Thank you very much. All right, actually, I kind of want to. I mean, it's roughly 30 people that followed. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to acknowledge all of the. I must answer 4,200 questions. I'm gonna try to acknowledge everyone that followed. I appreciate you all so much. Here we go. I'll find it. I don't know where the last follow was. Whoa, that's a lot of follows. I think it was here. E-double, thank you. Jets Machine, and Zoe, and Musafa, and She Who Will Not Be Named, and Xander, and YGBSM, and Imgene, and Intricon, and Sharky Shreds, and Min Ed, and KK Brown, and Angelica, and Rulas, and Rizuri, and Allison Perez, and Medianoche, and Foycode, and Uncalled for CPU, and Reich Mahorn, and Miss Gray, and Wushai, and M10327, and Smart Start, and J Trill Spy, and Tanya Ray, and Yenri, and Doomdrop GG, and Mod Defined, and Abeth Monkel, And thank you so much, Sean, for those 300 bits. And the Colombian kid, and Ravalo, and Christuan, and Wenderson, and Sean, and Meow, and Profound Rice. That's a great name. Great work. And Marlove, and Locke, and Blackbeard, and 1524, and Knits and Scribbles, and Just Nine, and I Lost the Game Today. And Dumas. Thank you all so much for the follows, and thank you for helping me get to past 4,200 subs. Welcome, everyone. All right, yeah, I gotta take a drink. Okay, so we're talking about, in JavaScript, truthy falsy values. So how about we, just real quick, for all of you that just joined, if you know nothing or very little about programming, can you just type 1 in the chat? And Shines Love, thank you so much for the 500 bits. And Delarus, thank you for that follow. Hype. Andrew, you know about coding. Awesome. So there's a lot of newbies here, and that's awesome. What we're talking about is booleans, which is either true or false. It is or it isn't. 0 or 1, on or off. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, in the next 5 minutes, you will learn something. That's the hope. In the next 5 minutes, you will learn something. And thank you, COVID, for that follow. Did I miss another follow? I might have missed another follow. I'm sorry if I did. Okay. You might be watching me in a web browser right now. It's either Firefox or Chrome or Safari or Internet Explorer. You also might be watching on mobile, so this is going to be a little bit harder. But what I want you to do is to open a new tab. Open a tab and right-click the page. I don't know, Internet Explorer, IE Edge, I don't know. Right-click the page and click Inspect Element. This is going to launch the dev tools. You want to make sure that you do this on a page that doesn't have a URL. Shines Love with the gifts sub. Thank you so much, Shine Love. The community here is just so nice. Shines Love with the bits, Sean with the bits, M. Jean, Bellhance, Purple Shadow. You all are great. Oh, that's why. We're on a hype train. I didn't even know. Okay, thank you all for okay. Okay, but if you open a tab, make sure you're not at a URL, right click. You tried telling me. And click Inspect Element. That's going to bring up this thing. This thing is known as the DevTools. But if you click on console, you can actually write JavaScript code. So this is the code that powers websites on the web. Do this with me. Type console, CONSOLE, period, LOG, open parenthesis, Purple Shadow with the bits. Thank you very much. So you have open close parenthesis. Inside those parentheses, put single quotes and type hello space world. Now I'll give you a second to switch back and forth between me and the other tab. This is your first program. This is going to output hello world to the console. You should see it like that. And so I'm using this console to demonstrate programming concepts. And we can execute JavaScript code here. So what I'm talking about right now are things called booleans. So you can do true. If you type true and hit enter, you should get back true. And if you type false and hit enter, you should get back false. So these are primitives in most programming languages, primitive values that are, in this case, mean true or false. And we can use them for a lot of different things. If you've heard of if this, then that, that's what we typically use booleans for. We also call these booleans. But what I was showing is that in JavaScript, which is weirder than other languages, the value 0 is falsy. and I'll show you what I mean by that. So print, I don't think that'll work, Doc, because we're not on coding game. But I'll show you this. So the other thing we introduced was this exclamation mark. So in programming, the exclamation mark usually means not. So if I do not true, what is the opposite of true? It is false. Oh, it's going to open my printer. It's not going to actually work, Doc. Stop trolling. We're trying to teach the kids. Okay, I got to teach these kids. So if you do not true, it gives back false. In the chat right now, tell me what will happen if I type not false. What do I get? If I type not false, what do I get? These are booleans, yes. Not false is true. It's true, yes. So if I do not false, we get back true. Awesome. So these are like basic booleans and boolean operators. But the interesting thing about JavaScript is that you can also have falsy values. So what I'm telling you right now is the value 0, which is a number. In JavaScript, you can have numbers too, like 42 or 4241, like that. But 0 is falsy. And if we do not 0, JavaScript will actually give us back true because it interprets 0 as a falsy value. If you do not any other number, you're going to get back false because any other number, 1, 2, 3, I could go on forever. Not any of these other things is going to give us false because any number that's not 0 is considered a truthy value. So not true is false. Awesome. So, or not true. Yeah, what does not true give us back? It's the opposite of false, which is true. So not true gives us back true. not 0 would give us back false because not 0 is true, not true is false. I don't know. So hopefully, if you're new to programming, you just learned a little bit about primitives, about booleans, about the way to flip a boolean with an exclamation mark, and a little bit about falsy values. Now, where this comes into play is because we were solving this problem here. Is in divisible by x and y. So this is a problem that we're solving on Code Wars. I'll give you a link here. And it has a problem description, and we are trying to solve it. And we're solving it in a lot of different ways. Not false is not false. So you can use 1 or 0s as flags for booleans. You actually can, and earlier we were talking about minifying code, and minifiers actually do that. But so we're showing like a million different ways to solve this same problem, and what we were about to do right here was use the fact that 0 is a falsy value. But forget about that. But let's go back to the beginning. So in this problem, oh yeah, and I'll tell you about Code Wars real quick. So this is what I solve, or things that I solve every Wednesday around the same time. If you go to codewars.com, you can sign up and practice coding problems. If you're completely and totally new to programming, after this is over, check the VOD, because at the beginning of this VOD, I actually show you how to get into Code Wars. They ask you a very simple programming problem and that you have to solve to get in, and I show you how to solve that. But you can choose for many different languages. You can choose many different, hello, that's me. You can choose many different difficulties. So 8Q, even though it's the highest number, is actually the easiest on Code Wars, and 1Q is the hardest. So today, we're really just solving 8Qs, very, very beginner problems, and we're trying to break them down as much as possible. And this particular problem, the instructions were, create a function that checks if in is divisible by two numbers x and y. All inputs are positive, non-zero digits. We also mentioned that you don't actually have to know math to be a programmer. It just so happens that this one problem involves math. And thank you, Phykex, for that follow. Why do Boolean of null and undefined return false? So those are also falsy values. So what I showed was 0 is a falsy value, but undefined is another thing that's a falsy value, and null is a falsy value. So if I do not undefined, I get back true, and if I do not null, I get back true as well. So there are also an empty string is a falsy value. There are lots of different falsy values in JavaScript. And then anything that's not a falsy value is a truthy value. But regardless, this particular problem, what we have to do is we have a number, and we have to return true, a Boolean true, if that number is divisible by both x and y. And what we figured out was in programming and in math, there's this operator called the modulus operator, which returns the remainder of the division by a given number. So what this says is if the remainder of the division of n by x is 0, this actually results in true. And I'll show you what I mean by that in our console. So if I do 42 mod 2, that actually gives us back 0, because the remainder of the division, so 42 divided by 2 is what? 21? It's 21. It's 21. We actually could do 42 divided by 2. It's 21, but that's an even value, right? Or a whole value. There's no decimal place. It is a whole number with no remainder. So the remainder of the division by 2 is 0. So we're using the fact that modulus gives us back the remainder of the division. If the remainder of that division is 0 for x, and the remainder of that division for y is 0, we have these two variables, is indivisible by x and is divisible by y. And then we need to return if it's divisible by both. So that's what we're talking about. We're showing many, many different ways to solve this. I think I'm going to do this one last one, which deals with truthy, falsy values, and then we're going to move on to a new problem. And we're going to try to find something that's not very math-focused, because it gets tricky. Okay, so what I just showed was the modulus returns the remainder of the division. So the remainder of the division by x gets stored in this variable. So if in was 42 and x was 2, the remainder of the division is 0. 0 gets put into this variable. Then we do the same thing with y. So let's say y is 6. So we'll do 42 mod 6. The remainder of that division is also 0 because 6 is a divisor of 42. But the remainder of that division gets stored in here. So now we want to check, are both of these values 0? Is it divisible by both of these? And this is where truthy falsy comes into play, because if we have 0, the remainder, and we not it, that gives us back true, right? And then with booleans, we can combine them. So if I do not 0 and not 0, that gives us back true, because both of those values are true. Remember, not 0 is true, so not 0 and not 0 equals true, which means we can actually solve this by just doing not remainder of the division and not. And then all of our test cases work. False, false, true, true, false, false, true, true. Wow. Wow. And thank you for that follow, Instant Def. Can I just do a full JavaScript tutorial stream? I want to do a whole course, but I don't know if I have the time. You can absolutely do it without the if. Yeah, so what I was showing is, in like the first way that I solved it is I didn't use if else. So if else are conditional statements. You can say if this expression results in true, then the code inside these curly braces is going to execute. If this expression results in false, then this expression will execute. But what I was showing is you technically don't need that. Like this same function could be written in this way. We just return the value. We could write it with if else. We could write it with if and then a return, because when a function returns, the code below it doesn't work. There's a lot of ways. If you're totally new to programming, you don't have to worry about this, but I just wanted to show the many different ways to do all of this. Okay. The string 0 is, however, not falsy, right? Because it's not an empty string. 21. Yeah, okay, thank you. I forgot that my chat wasn't scrolled, so I missed a bunch of chats. We're 2 minutes behind. Yes, welcome. And thank you, Munch, for that follow. Object is -0 + 0. Thank you, Damgar, for that follow. And thank you, the Votu, for that follow. Oh, it is. I just forgot to scroll. We're here. I'm sorry. Thank you, Awesome Rins. Let's see it done with a loop. I think the thing is, I could do it with a loop. 6-figure dev with the raid. Oh, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. You absolutely can. So I upload to YouTube after 24 hours. So if you !mark YouTube, you can get the link to the stream. And then also, if you go on the videos page here on Twitch, it'll be available immediately after this stream. Oh, and I just realized, who else noticed this? Right, wait, your eyes might actually burn. Close your eyes for a second. I accidentally had Flux on, which is a tool that removes blue light. So my screen was yellow. Sorry about that. And thank you for the raid, 6-figure dev. Welcome, Raiders. And thank you, ZPRDZ, for that follow, and Stuttergod and John Calloway. Welcome to the garden. Hype tree. And Justud, thank you for that follow as well. Okay, so we're done with that problem. Let's stop talking about math. I thought my screen was broken. No, I'm sorry. Somebody should have told me. I had Flux on. Okay, so on Code Wars, you can put your code in. I'm going to submit this version. What we were talking about earlier is there are so many ways to solve the same problem. But as a beginner, you kind of just want to do what works. Do what works and makes sense to you. So I'm going to submit this one. This was the first one that I wrote. Now we're going to attempt. No more math. Yeah, okay. So we're just going to submit this one, and we're going to find a problem that doesn't involve math. So people basically had double Flux if you already had Flux on. Maths. So here's the other cool thing about Code Wars is once you submit a solution, you can see how other people have solved it as well. So we can see that this person did kind of the one-liner solution where they just have the modulo in line with the double ampersand. This is my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. If you've been sitting at home for a while, feel free to stand up. Stretch. Oh, I have 2 stretches in the queue? Okay, we'll stretch. We're going to stretch for 2 minutes, and then we're going to write some more code. But also, did that hype train happen? Oh, thank you all for being involved in that hype train. Hype chip! You all rock. Quick shout out to all the people that were in the hype train. Yeah, Bellhands with the tier 1 sub, Sean with 1,000 bits, Gabriel with the Twitch Prime sub, Purple Shadow with 100 bits, Bellhands with 100 bits, Imgene with 100 bits, Sean with the 300 bits, Shines Love with the 500 bits, Shines Love with the gifted sub, and Purple Shadow with the 200 bits. Thank you all for that hype train. Oh yeah, we're going to set a 2-minute timer, and we're going to stretch. And then we're going to get back into it. Are we going to do Code Wars later? I mean, we're doing Code Wars right now. Do you mean Code Clash? And thank you, Michael Reeves, for that follow. Are you the real Michael Reeves? And thank you, I'm Bazimba, for that follow. And Obama, thanks for the follow. And Josh Stud. Okay, 2-minute Code Clash. Maybe we will. The thing is, Code Clash is not very inviting to beginners, so I don't know. So, just reach behind you. Let's get some rolls of the shoulders. I was being very sincere. Obama followed me, and I thank them for that. What is a code? A code, we actually talked about it. So before you got here, we were talking about Boolean values, which is almost as simple as it gets in programming. I keep wanting to put my hands on the keyboard, but we gotta stretch. Yes, I added deletions. I want to see. Are you the real Michael Reeves, or are you just someone impersonating them talking about robots? We've got Arduinos. We really do. I actually could set it up. Should I set it up? It might not be that hard to. Don't know that, man. It might not be that hard to set up. The thing is, I rearranged my studio recently, so it could be hard to get there. If you do ! shirt in the chat, you can get a link to the shirt. I made it. It's my design. I wrote the Arduino stuff with JavaScript using Johnny 5. Often when I follow tutorials, it all makes sense, but when I try to code something on my own, I don't even know where to start. Any tips on how to get past that? Try doing something like Code Wars, where you're kind of forced to just solve the thing without having someone solve it for you. And also try. I think part of that is actually getting good at searching the web, and trying to find the most relevant answer to your question without actually completely answering your question. And it's hard, Awesome Rins. I know that a lot of beginners fall into that trap of just like, here's the thing about coding tutorials is that they do make sense because coding is logical. And if you can understand logic and you can follow the logic, it'll make sense. But when it comes to applying it, that's a different skill and a different mindset. But I think the only thing I can offer is practice without tutorials, practice trying to build things without tutorials. Yeah. Use C++. Okay, what were we doing? I could hook up my Arduino. That would take time. We need to write some code. Let's write some code. All right, we're gonna get right into this one. Number 2, clock. Clock shows hours, minutes, and seconds after midnight. Your task is to make a pass function which returns the time converted to milliseconds. That's more math. It's like multiplication. All right, let's do fundamentals. 8Q. And I'll sort by most completed. And katas that I have not trained on. Abbreviate a 2-word name. You can't code under pressure. Yeah, and Awesome Rins, I would say focus on like the 8Qs. Focus on the easier ones and just get some practice under your belt. Just try to do like at least 5 of them in a day. Okay, this one says abbreviated 2. Okay, this one's cool. I like this one. Abbreviated 2-word name. Write a function to convert a name into initials. This kata strictly takes 2 words with a space in between them. The output should be 2 capital letters with a dot separating them. Awesome. So you get a string. So a string is another data type in JavaScript, but you get a string that is like somebody's name, Sam Harris, and you need to return s.h, the first and the last characters. And then you also get something like this, Patrick Feeney, and you need to return a string with the first and last characters. This is great. This is a good beginner problem, and we can talk about string manipulation and strings in JavaScript. So I am going to pull this down locally, and I'm actually going to use Alka's CodePen thing. Alka CodePen? Code Wars API. What the heck is a kata? It is a programming problem. If you go to codewars.com, you can see all sorts of katas. A kata, I believe, is a a Japanese word for practice, and it might be repetition. But the idea is you practice. You get your reps in, and after lots and lots of practice, you'll get good at this stuff. Will this help improve my with my programming logic? I think so. Now, like we showed, a lot of these problems are like very math focused, and that isn't necessarily what you would do on the day-to-day as a programmer. So try to find problems that are more like less math focused. Katas are practice sets. I like that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm bringing all this code that's on Code Wars down locally. You can write your code right here on Code Wars. You can write it right there, click test, it'll work just fine. I like to bring it down locally so I can blow up the font size, and we can also write it in multiple ways and like break down the solution. All right, so I'm going to start up this cool tool called Quokka. It runs the code inside of my editor, and we can see, and those of you that were watching earlier, we know that a function that doesn't have the return statement returns undefined. So right now, my function, abbrev name, returns undefined for every single case. Now, what I need to do is I need to take this the string value that I get, which is the name, and I need to return the first and the last initial. So let's give it a try. And that's another good point. Obama with the tier 1 sub. Thank you, Obama, for the support. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Predecessor to the C language. What is? I think I missed your chat. How much does Code Wars cost? It's free. You can pay for Code Wars Red, and that just makes it so that your code will run a little bit faster when you're submitting your solution on the site. But other than that, you can just use it totally for free. And thank you, Supreme Han, for that follow. What I look for uppercase. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to approach this. I think we're actually just going to solve this with no built-in functions. So in JavaScript, there actually is a built-in function on strings called split, and you could basically split a string on the space, and that is going to give you back an array that has the values that were in between the spaces. Well, we could solve it that way, but then we have to know about arrays, all that good stuff. We're going to do this with a good old-fashioned for loop. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to first create, and here's another thing that excuse me, excuse me. Another thing I like to do when solving problems is try to write out the solution in plain English. Like try to write out the solution in mostly non-programmer terms, and then we try to turn that into actual code that works. Calm down on the baked beans. Yeah, I'll definitely show split afterwards. So show split. But what I'm going to show is if you know the basics of for loops and iteration, you can solve this problem without any built-in functions. And thank you, Elkarn, for that follow, and Emriz for that follow as well. Lambda expressions, we could do that too. Okay, but here we go. So what I need is a place to store the initials, right? So the result of this function is to create this value here, right? The result of the function is to create a string that has the initials inside of it. So what I need is a place to store those initials. And this most likely is going to be a string, and I'll say this is initialized to the empty string, right? So we're going to start off with a completely totally empty string that we're then going to build up into these initials here, okay? Step 1. Yeah, you missed it on Hot. We got rated by Mastermind. I got like 30 follows instantly. But it was pretty fun. Okay, so place to store the initials. Now, we have the string here, and we basically want to look at every single character in the string. So for that, we need to iterate. So I'll say iterate over the characters in the string. And somebody earlier mentioned capital letters. I think we like there are definitely multiple ways to approach this. I think what we could do is anytime we see a capital letter, we're going to put that onto the result. That's one way of approaching it. One way that I'm thinking of is actually we could have two variables. We could have a variable that's the first initial and a variable that's the second initial, and we'll search for it. And the moment we find a space, we know that the next character is going to be the second initial. I think let's actually solve it that way. So I'll say a place to store the first initial, initialized to the empty string. and then a place to store the second initial, and that's also initialized to the empty string. Oh, I know, Alka. I know. I know. But I'm trying to think about how we can solve this without built-in functions. And thank you, Dougie Fresh, for that follow. Big beans. Okay, so we have a place for the first initial, a place for the last initial. Now we're going to iterate over the characters in the string. And really, it's actually, now that I'm talking out loud and trying to simplify it, we already know what the first initial is. So we'll say a place to store the first initial, initialized to the first letter in the name, right? So it's actually really easy to just grab the first letter out of the string. So we can do that. And then we'll iterate to find the second capital letter. Okay, so now iterate over the characters in the string, starting at the second character. And so we're iterating. We're looking at every single character. We'll say, if the current character is a space, then we need to set the second initial to the next character. Don't forget the period. It's just plain English right now. Where did I get this practice? Oh yeah, I'll link you to it. It's right here. And there's my quick break timer. It'd be great if my chat overlay allowed for editing of previous messages. That actually would be awesome. We'd have to display some sort of ID next to the chat to be able to like send a command to edit it. But yeah, okay, so I'll show you this. This is a website called codewars.com. And this particular kata, or this challenge, is we're given a string and we need to turn it into an abbreviation of a two-word name. So if you want to try it at home, there's the link. But what we're doing right now is breaking it down and trying to solve it locally. And I think this is what I call pseudocode. So we need a place to store the first initial. It's initialized to the first letter in the name. We can just reach in, grab that first character. Great. Yes, you absolutely can, Birai, but I want to show it without any built-in functions. We're just using primitives. Like the basics of coding basically the way I'm going to solve it, you could solve it this exact same way in most coding languages. Okay, so what we're going to do is reach in and just grab that first character. That's actually really easy to do. Then we're going to look at every character one at a time, that character, and when we come across a space, we know that the next character is a capital letter. So we come across the space, we're like, okay, we're basically done. We know that the next character is a capital letter, so we're going to set the second initial to be that next character, and then after we're done, so we're done with that for loop, we now need to return the first initial concatenated. So I've been programming for so long, concat. Is that a programmer term, or does somebody, if you know nothing about program, does the word concat mean anything to you? What if their name is a space? I don't think our problem will have that. It's a pretty easy problem. I think we have some assumptions that can be made that it's always separated first and last name. We could do a lot of validations, but we actually don't have to in this case. We can always assume that it's just going to be a string. You heard it first in Microsoft Excel. Yeah, so concat means to add, because basically we have these two variables. We have a variable concat, a function in SQL. Okay. So this is not a common term. Let's try to break down what concat means. But we have a variable that has the first initial like S, and then we have a variable that has the second initial H, and we need to put those two things together. We need to create a new string that has those two things there. Pseudo-code it up. Also, concatenate definition, verb, combine two strings to form a single one. Interesting. So it's definitely a programmer term, but we basically want to take those two strings, concatenate them with a period in the middle. Return the first initial concatenated with a period, concatenated with the second initial. Okay, so this is my pseudocode. This is me thinking about how I'm going to solve this problem without actually writing any code. And I absolutely recommend that you try and solve problems this way, because you're going to learn how to break them down. Most of what programming is breaking down a big problem into lots of tiny smaller problems to end up with the result. Because the first problem that we need to solve is how do we get that first letter in the name? So I'll show you in the JavaScript. When you have a string, so let's say I have the string CJ. That's my name. I don't know if I mentioned that. My name is CJ. You have the string CJ. So strings in JavaScript are wrapped by single quotes. Now, if I want to grab that first character in the string, I can actually treat this like an array. Coding Garden with CJ. I can actually just use brackets and say I want the 0th character in there. So in programming languages, in programming, most things are 0 indexed instead of 1 indexed. But if I say bracket 0, then that means give me back the first character. If I do bracket 1, then that means give me back the second character. So you can see this results in C, this results in J. So in JavaScript, this is how we can get the first letter of a string. Easy enough. So this first line, a place to store the first initial, initialized to the first letter in the name. So I can say first initial, this is my variable, and that's going to be name, which is, it could be CJ, it could be whatever else. Do I need to explain index? Probably. And I'll do name bracket 0. And so that should give me the first letter in this thing that gets passed in. It'll give me the first letter in Sam Harris, the first letter in Patrick, the first letter in Evan, each one at a time, but that is going to be the first initial. Awesome. Now, Alka is mentioning index. What we mean by that is if we're looking at a string, I'll type out my full name. This is my full name. If we're looking at the string, each of the characters in the string has an index. So this is 0 index, this is 1 index, this is 2 index, index 3, index 4. Each one has an index, and the way we get access to those indices is by using bracket notation. So give me the 0th index, or the first index, or the second index, or the third index, or the 4th index. Basically, we can pass in any number that is a valid index in this string, and we're going to get back that actual index. 0 indexing, yes. So by doing this, we get the first initial. Done. Problem solved. All right, now we need a place to store the second initial, initialized to the empty string. What about the 5th? Can anyone in the chat tell me what will happen if we try to get the 5th indice in this string? What happens? What are we going to get? Although it's not quite... Hey, stop it, Doc. You're complicating things. Yeah, because emojis are technically combinations of Unicode values. Undefined. Yeah, so JavaScript's interesting. JavaScript will not throw index out of bounds. JavaScript will just give you back undefined. In a programming language like Java or C++ or C#, the program will just error and be like, hey, we can't do that. But in JavaScript, if we say bracket 5, we just get back undefined. Java, heart. Out of bounds, baby. And it's important to note that the result is undefined. It's the absence of a value. Whereas null is like the explicit setting of something to nothing. But we do get undefined, not null. Very useful to not have to handle that error. It's true. I mean, JavaScript was initially written to be a very easy to learn and easy to use scripting language that was forgiving so that people could create websites and add JavaScript to it to make them interactive. And it needed to work across a bunch of, well, at the time, not a lot of different browsers. But it's a forgiving language, and it's had that since the beginning. Okay, we got the first initial. All right, we need to get the second initial. And the thing is, we don't know what indice that's going to be, right? In this string, that's the 0, 1, 2, 3, it's the 4th indice. In this string, it's the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's the 8th indice, right? So we have to do some searching. And we can basically use a loop to look at each character to try and find that space. We're going to check for the space. Quokka, I believe, is only for JavaScript. And in VS Code, you can do Command-Shift-P and then search for Quokka, and then click Start on Current File, and that will start it up. Cool. Yeah, Unhot says it merely delays the error. Yeah. Okay. So we need another variable, and actually, I'm going to use let. Let second initial equal empty string. Now, we haven't talked about the difference between let and const yet, but variables that do not change, you can use the const keyword. So because I never need to reassign first initial, that's never going to change, I'm using the const keyword. But because I don't know what second initial is yet, I'm using let, which means that later on inside of my loop, I can overwrite it. I can reassign it. Your pseudocode makes an assumption about your inputs that is incorrect. Yes, but if we read the problem description, maybe I know what you're talking about. But if we read the problem description, I don't think they're going to pass in any like empty string. Like it doesn't tell us that we need to handle any sort of error cases. So you're absolutely right. In the real world, we would need to make sure that this string is at least length 2. The string is not null, the string is not undefined, but for this basic example, I believe we can assume that there are 2 words separated by a space. Is that what you were talking about, Acid Spark? Okay. All right. We got let. It can be reassigned. Now we need to iterate. So iterate over the characters in the string, starting at the second character. If I follow exactly the return definition, I won't have an issue. Return the first initial concatenated with the period concatenated with the second initial. Okay, we'll see when we get there. But now I need to iterate. Now in programming languages, most programming languages have this thing called a for loop. And what that does is it lets us iterate a certain number of times, and we need some iteration, right? We need some code that's going to look at every single value. I dare you to use C#. Now this is, we'll see when we get there. I'm not quite sure, John. I can try to help you debug that later if you send a message on the Discord. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna create a for loop. Now this for loop needs to start at the second character. If we're using 0 indexing, what is the index of the second character? Who can tell me? Doc, this is confusing. Oh no, you're talking to Andrew. Okay. 1. Yeah, 1. Because the 0 is the first initial, 1 would be the character after the first initial. Yeah, 1. So we need to start our for loop at 1. So I'll say let I, which is our iterator, our index, that starts off at 1. And I want to basically, I could look at every single character in the string, but technically I want to stop looping whenever second initial actually has a value. So I'll say for, and then I could actually just do not second initial. So we learned about this earlier. If you do not a falsy value, it's going to give you back true. So right now on this first iteration, not a falsy value gives me back true. Let's not do that. That's a little confusing. I'm going to say while I is less than name.length. So we're going to look at every single character in the name. And then I++. So on each iteration, I need to look at the next character, so I tell it increment I by 1. Type 1 in the chat if you don't know. All right. So this is my logic. We're looping. And what I can do here is I get access. Now that I have this index, I can get access to each character inside of the name. So I'm going to create a variable for this. You don't have to, but it'll make the code a little bit easier to read. I'll say const letter equals name bracket I. So this is going to give us each individual letter in the string. Yeah, it should work. You should be able to get in. There's a process. Once you join, make sure you read the welcome channel because you do have to do some stuff to get access, but you should be able to. Can someone else try the link? Yeah. Okay, so we get access to each letter in the name. Now we need to check, is that letter a space? So we'll say if letter equals a space, like that, then we know that the next character is the initial. Don't try it, it's a rickroll. Works on my machine, cool. So we're looking at every character. If we reach a space, we know that the next character is an initial. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we'll say second initial equals name at I+1. So because I know that the current character is a space, I want the next one, so I can just do I+1. So that should give me the second initial. And at this point, I think we're done. We have, yeah, we're almost done. So we have found the first initial. This should give us the second initial, and now we need to do this concatenation thing. So I'm going to return first initial plus a period plus second initial. And this should work, hopefully. We might have done something wrong. And thank you, Zach, for that hydrate. I have not drank in a while. Yeah, we can absolutely use, what do you call it? I'm just thinking of some, unless it's a word with a space at the end of it. Right. So we've made some assumptions here. We've made some assumptions that there is only a space in the middle of the string. No. So I don't think I didn't miss a period. So oh, nice, John. That's good to hear. If you're coming from, I think PHP uses the period to concatenate things. The plus sign is actually what we use to concatenate things in JavaScript. So what I'm trying to end up with is a string that has the first character, period, the second initial. And it looks like my code works, but I have made a lot of assumptions, right? I have assumed that there's only one space in the string. I have assumed that there's at least a first name and a last name. And everyone has a lot of good suggestions. Basically, once I found it, I could actually break. So, and that would make sense to do here, because once I found it, if I type if I use the break keyword, then that means jump out of this for loop. That means stop iterating. We're done. We found the thing. Done. And we absolutely could use template literals too. But this is my approach at breaking this down, not using any built-in functions, and assuming that we have mostly decent inputs, right? So if I take this code and I paste it into Code Wars, let's see, does it work for the test cases? It does. So for all of the basic test cases, it works. Awesome. Now this is the part of the show where we show how to solve it in many, many, many different ways. And thank you, Hermione Torres, for that follow. Yeah, you're very welcome, Llama Kid. See ya. Thanks for hanging out. Is anyone still here from the Mastermind raid? Can you type brain in the chat if you're still here from the Mastermind raid? And thank you, Rain Gondo, for that follow. No, yep. Nice. Welcome. Well, thank you for sticking around. Can you let me know, have you learned anything in the past? I don't know, how long have you been here? 20 minutes? 30 minutes? Thank you, Luisco, for that follow. And Diover Official for that follow. Honestly, don't know where I'm from. Okay. Brain. Thank you, Malcito, for that follow as well. Learned that I'll be tuning in again. Nice. Yeah, and so I mentioned I do the show every Wednesday. If you look at my YouTube channel, there's a playlist of all past 46 episodes. This is episode 47. And in every episode, I try to break things down. I try to take a problem. We'll solve it in multiple ways as well. Stream host. Oh, nice. Can I see the return statement? Yep. So this says, take the string first initial, concatenate it with the string period, and then concatenate that with the string second initial. I come from recommended channels. Well, welcome, Rain Gondo. The output should be 2 capital letters with a dot separating them. Yeah. And again, I've made assumptions. I've made assumptions that each string starts with a capital letter. All right. See you later, Mr. Orangutan. Thanks for hanging out with us. That's probably impossible, Mint Jim. I have, I don't know if it's thousands, at least hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. Oh, nice. It's good to hear. People are finding me in different ways. There are more tests at the end. You will fail some. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to click attempt. So here's the way Code Wars works. If you just click test, it's only going to run it against these tests here. If you click attempt, it's going to run it against more hidden tests. And we might have done something wrong. Okay, so I can see where we got things wrong. Now, in the output over here, we can see expected versus what we actually output. So my function is outputting lowercase g and c, and it expected uppercase g and c. So I've made an assumption here. And welcome, Codephobia. That's a scary shirt. Code. Everyone should check out Codephobia's channel. He's a live coder on the Live Coders team as well. So check him out for sure. And if you do exclamation mark shirt, you can get a link to this shirt. I designed it. It took a lot of work to design this thing. Does anyone know what font this is? 100 Coding Garden points if you can tell me what font this is. No built-in functions allowed. Okay, Fira code. No. Okay, so our function, it's sort of working, right? It expected capital P, capital C, but we're returning lowercase p, lowercase c. And I think that's the main issue for all these test cases. So what that means is we actually could be given a string where it's not capitalized. So like we have lowercase David Mendieta. Teach me, senpai. Montserrat? No. Comic Sans? No. And we actually need to return this as uppercased. So to fix that, there actually is a built-in function, SF? No. Ubuntu Mono? No. It's Futura. Welcome, Refactor. Welcome. It is Futura. It is a sans serif font, technically. Yes. So Awesome Rins has it. There's a built-in function in JavaScript called toUppercase. And toUppercase can take any value. So we can take, like, the letter C and say toUppercase. And that gives us back capital C. Uppercase. So that's what we need, right? So we need to say first initial dot... well, technically, we could take the whole result and toUppercase it. But we also could just say dot toUppercase. And then second initial dot toUppercase. And that, now no matter what, no matter if the string is all lowercase, we always get back uppercase. Cool. Andrew solved it with regex. I'd like to see that. I'm going to show it in a second, probably how most JavaScript coders that have been doing things for a while would solve it, and that is using the built-in split function. But there we go. We've passed all test cases with this code. Now, like I said, this is the very manual way of doing it. Let's do it in the more JavaScript-y way. Or, a lot of other programming languages might have these functions built in, but we can also do this. So we'll have a function called abbreviate name, takes in name, and we want to use this function called split. Now, we know that we have a string that has one space in the middle of it. We at least know that. In JavaScript, there is this function built into strings called split, where you can automatically split a string based on a certain character. So let's look at string split on MDN. And this function, you can see how people have used it here. We have this sentence, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And if we say that string, that split, with a space character, that's going to give us back an array with all the words inside of it. Anything that was separated by a space. So we get an array with the value of the quick brown fox. Let's actually show what happens here. So if I take this string and I say dot split and I pass in a space, we now get back an array with all the words in between spaces, right? So we basically JavaScript on our behalf found all of the spaces and then turned it into an array that doesn't have that basically took each value separated by spaces. Yeah, you could use a regular expression to match space and then a capital character. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'll show. Okay, yeah. So don't share your regex solution. I'll try to solve it with regex in a second. Okay, so what we want to do is split it on a space. So we're gonna say we'll say first name last name equals name.split on space. So that's going to give us back an array with the first name and the last name in it. Now, we already know that we can use this notation to get the first character and the last character. So we could say here, return first name, last name. And actually, let's do this. And I'll show you how we can make it even less code. But because this returns an array, I want to create two variables, a variable called first name and a variable called last name. Now, who can tell me in the chat, how can I get the first name out of this variable? How can I get the first name out of this variable? First name equals first name, last name. What do I do? What do I do? Bracket 0. Yeah, so I basically say, because this is an array, and we're in the bracket notation works very similar. Codephobia's got the destructuring. We'll get there. We're not that far yet. And die over official. Technically, die over official sent it first. Yeah, something with bracket 0. So bracket 0 is going to give us back the first name, and then if we do bracket 1, that's going to give us back the last name. Right? So let's actually show it in the console here. So if I have CJ space R and I do dot split on space, I get an array that's of length 2. And if I do that result at 0, I get back CJ. And if I do that result at 1, I get back R. So ask it politely. That's how we get it back. So now I have two variables with first name and last name. Yep, all the code will be there for sure. And we can do exactly what we did. What we did before. And actually, let's go a bit further. Now I have the first name and the last name. Now I need the first initial. And we saw earlier that you can just do on a string, you can index it to get a specific character. So I'll say first initial equals first name bracket 0. And that gives me the first initial. And then I could do the same thing to get this on the last name. So I'll say last name bracket 0. And that gives me the last initial. We're getting there, right? Split it. Create two variables that are the first name and the last name. Get the first character out of each of those. And at this point, now we can do code that's very similar to what I had before. First name CJ, last name R. You got it. You got it. Now I can do this. And actually, I guess I called it last initial instead of second initial. But code should still work. And it works. But there's actually a way to shorten this. We can get much, much shorter. This is very verbose. What Codephobia and DieOverOfficial were showing is this thing called destructuring, which actually makes it really convenient to get values out of an array. Bracket 0. 0, 0. Yeah, and so we technically don't have to. Let's actually show that. I technically don't have to create these extra variables. It could get really weird, all right? So actually, I'm gonna show this. So we could do first name, last name, bracket 0, which gives us the first name, bracket 0, which gives us the first initial. Then I could do first name, last name, bracket 1, which gives me the last name, bracket 0, which gives me the first initial. And then I don't need any of these variables. There we go. And it still works. That code's getting real weird. Technically, if I didn't want to put that in a variable, I could actually split it twice. And then I could just replace that. I could add as many bracket zeros as I want. Exactly. So if there is something on the other side of that bracket 0. So like technically I could do that. And this still works. Cool. Let's actually, and now I want to show you destructuring. So again, we can write it that way, you can write it that way. But let me show you this little thing called destructuring. So instead of having to index into the array, right? See you later, Mint Jim. Thanks for hanging out with us. But instead of having to index in and grab a word, we can basically turn these 3 lines of code into 1 line of code. So this goes like this. So I can say the first item in the array gets put in the variable first name, and the second item in the array gets put in the variable last name. And now I've got rid of two lines of code, and the code still works. We see it still works here. But this is basically a shorthand. Syntactic sugar is the word that we use to do this, to get some variables out of an array. So that's great. We could go even further than that on our destructuring. I don't know if I want to show this or not, but I'm going to show it. Because then we could technically destructure this and say the 0th item gets renamed to be first initial. And then we could, I believe this will work. We can actually destructure this and say the first item will be, the 0th item will be the last initial. And then we have the first and the last initial, and the code still works. We can write it this way too. What is this complaining about? Last name is declared, but its value is never read. That's... Oh, actually, yeah, I don't need this. I could do this. I can get rid of the variable names and just destructure each value in the array itself. Look at that. So that's really weird. Another thing I'll show really quick is instead of having to concatenate strings like this, there's a way of creating combined strings. This is way past my level, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have no idea what's happening here, don't worry. I guarantee you that there are some people that have been writing JavaScript a long time in the chat that have never seen this syntax before and don't know what it means. I don't... Do I? Oh, okay, so I used object destructuring, but technically I could use array destructuring. Yeah, you're right, Doc. I could actually do this. I could say, because that is an iterable thing, I want to destructure it for the first initial. I need to stop, because this is getting ridiculous at this point. What's happening here? That's the question that we all have. Last initial. And that works too. Don't worry about anything that I've done like in the past 5-10 minutes. Let's go with Let's go with which solution? Now do regex. No, I'm not done yet. I need to show template literals. We'll work from this one. And people wonder why it's hard to keep code consistent. Yeah, and so I will say, if you're doing this professionally, most teams have coding standards and basically a set of rules that you follow as a team. Now change the split. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. First, I want to show. Oh no. That's for code clashes. But yeah, if you're working in the real world and you're working on a team, there are code standards, and people. A team makes sure that the code that you're writing is readable and understandable to everyone else, so you don't do weird things like this. This is noob friendly. I think it's a joke because it's not Code Clash. Okay, what I wanted to show was this. Okay, so let's go back to this function. This is a little more understandable. There's less weird things happening. Now, instead of using the plus sign here, I want to use a different thing called template literals, which will allow us to do string concatenation. So this line of code now becomes, you can do it if you document it. Maybe. Sometimes you got to write obscure code, job security. That's the thing. Like if you're not working on a team and you want to make sure that they don't fire you, you write it in an obscure way so nobody else understands it and they have to keep you on. But don't do that. That's no fun for anyone. Okay, so instead of the plus signs here, I'm going to wrap this in the backticks. And if you've never seen where the backtick is on your keyboard, it's up and to the left. You know where the tilde is on your keyboard? You probably never use it. That's where the backtick is. That little line. Everyone type backtick in the chat. Actually, it might break Twitch chat if you try to type a backtick. There's a backtick. Is that a tilde? What's that? That's a tilde. Backtick. There we go. People document these days? Yeah. Tick, 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 tick. Yeah, so that's the backtick. Great work, everyone. Nice backticks. Okay, so we have the special thing about this template literal is that it starts with backticks. You have to use backticks. Now, we want to put this expression into the string. So what we're going to do is we're going to do $money, and we're going to wrap it like that. Now, we don't need the plus signs and we don't need quotes, so we'll say that expression, period, then this expression. So we'll do $, curly brace right there. Now, this works in exactly the same way. This is, I don't know if this is more or less readable than, so basically this line of code and this line of code are doing exactly the same thing. Template literals are just really convenient, especially if you have a lot of variables that you're trying to concatenate together. The syntax is a little weird if you're new to it though, but we can do that. Now, I think and actually, now that we're doing this, because it's all one string, I actually can just put the 2 uppercase on the end. I could take this and put it there instead, because that way I only have to call it once. Yeah, they're great for if you have a really long string. Also, it actually allows you to put new lines in your string like this. With the single quotes, you can't do new lines like that without a special escape character. Can I move the uppercase to the end so you only have it once? Yep, so that's what we just did. And basically, what this says is take this string, which may or may not be uppercased, and then turn it into uppercase. Now, we technically could have done the same thing on this solution up here if we wrap it in parentheses. So this one where we're... actually, I'll just show it. I'll show it here. Let's show it one more way. Can I read this? Yes. So let's say I wanted to do the same thing where I concatenate these 2 together with the period. But then I want to call 2 uppercase. The issue with this, and we can see it in our last test case, is that will only uppercase the second value, not the first one. So if I wanted to uppercase the whole thing, I need to wrap that in parentheses. So now this expression will be evaluated, and then 2 uppercase gets called on the whole thing. Do I want to do uppercase or do I want to match the input case? What we figured out after running it against the test is that it always wants uppercase to come back. Yeah. So these are 3 different ways to write the same thing. At this point, people want me to try. I guess I'll try to do it with a regular expression. Let's see if I can figure it out. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'm going to try to use regular expressions. And if you don't know what the word regular expression is, just don't worry. Don't worry about anything that I'm about to do. Yeet. Regular expressions. It was in the... Okay, so here's the other thing. Always read the problem description. Read the manual, read the directions. Always make sure that you understand what you're trying to follow. It's fine. Okay, so here's what I need a regular expression to do some matching. And again, do not pay any attention to what I'm about to do. So we need a regular expression that's going to match. I guess we want like a single letter. There's probably a better. Let me like. I'm not the best at regular expressions. So give me a second. So I want to match a letter that is any letter A through Z. Well, I match a letter followed by a word. Followed by a space, followed by that. And I want this to be case insensitive. Now, this is not matching at all. Irregular expressions. So is slash, I need to look it up. Is slash W how you match against a word? Regex match word. Capital W means not alphanumeric character. Okay, so I'll do slash lowercase w. Haha. Okay. Yeah, and so A to Z will be lowercase, but I am doing a case insensitive search, which will match uppercase as well. We can see that right now I'm getting back an array with the last part of the string. This is not how you do it. This is not at all how you do it. Actually, I could do this. So I want to match. Basically, I want to match the first thing. And then that's going to be followed by zero. Why a match? So that way I can pluck out the first and the last characters. That's what I'm trying to do, is pluck out the first and last characters. Solve it using the output of a text encoder. No strings. No, give me a second. I gotta figure this out. So this is an experienced programmer struggling because I don't really understand irregular expressions. So we want to match against a character, followed by a space, followed by some other character. Let's and this first character can be followed by 0 or more things. Yeah, let's not do that. I'm sorry, everyone. I didn't mean it. I should get... Stop it. This is mostly a family-friendly stream. Andrew has redeemed code review. I will review your code and provide notes for up to 15 minutes. This redemption might be revoked if we are working on something else at the moment. Should I pause what I'm doing to review Andrew's code? Let me know in the chat. Type 1 if we should pause what I'm doing so we can review his code, or type yes. Nothing to review, just brag. Oh, okay, never mind. You don't have to, don't worry about it. And thank you, I'm Stephen Yo, for that follow. Let's get this regex done. All right, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna search the web. I'm gonna say regex match first character in a word. F. And thank you, Nendo Moraes, for that follow. I'm trying to create a regex that will match the first 3 characters of a string. Just a simple regex will work. Okay, so could I say it starts with hey, look at that. Look at this. We're grabbing the first character in the string by doing this, followed by a space, followed by one of something. Okay. Okay, so this works where the case that the first name is just a P. And stop it. Stop it. It's not what you think. This is a regular expression. And thank you, Almarx, for that posture check. Okay, so we're matching. So this needs to be followed by 0 or more stuffs. Followed by 0 more stuffs. Okay, so the whole thing matches. I guess is match what I want? And thank you, Thon, for that hydrate. So I want to match a word, and it's optional. And I want to match a word, and it's optional. I want to put any other character. Okay. So is match what I want? I actually want to, I want to get back an array of matches. This is giving me an array of only, yeah. Leaf Layer, check out exclamation mark shirt. And I think the store has a tank top available. Maybe. Maybe. There's like sweatshirts and stuff like that too. It's giving me a magical array. Okay. You know what? Let's do this in the terminal here because this is not what I'm used to. Okay. So, CJR. Well, I mean, okay. Do I want replace? This is hard. This is very hard. Replace is great for this. What would I replace? Oh, I would replace anything after the... Oh, anything after the first character. Do the replace second. Okay, I'm just going to do a match. I want to see what this match should actually be returning. So I want to match the first character in the string. All right. We've got the first character. And if I put this in a group, it gives me back an array with C and C. What's up with that? Greedy. It's a greedy regular expression. Okay. I think I want this. So match the first letter, and then there are going to be 0 or more letters after that. And then I want to match the next first letter. So followed by a space, followed by the next. Yeah, okay. So this does it. I think this does it. No tank. Okay, actually, I could probably enable them on the store. So just check back in like a day. So this is my regular expression. This is because we can see that it grabbed the C and the R. And what I want is if I do replace, and then I pass it in a string that does $1 period $2. Look at me. This is better. You know what? This is probably better than the solution that people were thinking of. Then use more generic for matching the rest of the word. I don't think I need to, right? Return name.replace that. Look, now I do have to do 2 uppercase, but I've solved it. I've solved it with a regular expression. /w or period dot. Okay, so well, that would, if I do period dot, then that would account for the space. Can I explain what I did? Yeah, so what's a good regex site? Regex pal? Regexer? I have leveled up. I did it. Regex 101. Is that the site that breaks it down? There's a site that /w is just syntactic sugar for A to Z 0 to 9 underscore. I like that. And we know, at least for these cases, it's just A to Z. It's just nicer to look at. I thought I tried that earlier. Maybe... I think I was missing the brackets inside the parentheses. Yeah, definitely. Definitely check back. I'm making coding streetwear, right? Just code. I might also make a shirt that just says baked beans. Or in one that just says yerba. That's why it didn't work earlier. Okay, there's actually explain regex. There's a site that breaks down a regular expression to say like what each part of the regular expression is doing. Is it regexer? Oh. This down here breaks it down. I've seen it broken down into like a finite state machine though, which is pretty fun to look at. Code. The next exactly. Explain regex state machine. Or finite state machine? Visualize regex. That's the search term that I want. Visualize. Regular expressions. Regex is a finite state machine. Online visual regex tester. Well, they gotta update their certificate. Yeah, you're welcome, Lethal Error. Oh, you know what? I might be thinking of explain shell. Like this, I mean, this isn't a finite state machine, but you can type in any Linux command here and it breaks it down into its constituent parts and tells you what each thing is doing. But debugx.com. I mean, TLS 1.1, 1.0, it's an unsecure site. This is probably what I want. Okay, so I'm going to put my regular expression into this. This is my regular expression. The interesting thing about regular expressions is they work in most programming languages. Cool. Would you look at that? So, what my regular expression looks for is one of A through Z. So I'm looking for one letter. That's the first initial. Followed by, really it's 0 or more A through Z's. So basically, the first group matches the first letter in the word. The thing after that matches the rest of the word, if there is the rest of the word. Followed by a space, because I want to match the first word, or the first letter, the rest of the word is space. Oh, and then, I guess can I do, oh, no. I think I can do it under flags. Ignore case. There we go. Yeah, so because I did /i on the end, then that means that I don't care if it's uppercase or lowercase, just match it. Followed by a space, and then again, followed by the first letter in the word, and then the rest of the letters in the word. And then this replace thing, so $1 is going to be the first group, and a group is anything that's wrapped in parentheses. So what this replace says is, I want to replace this string with the first matching group, which is going to be the first initial, followed by a period, followed by the second matching group. All right, I'm going to put this in Code Wars and see if it actually works. Starting with a word. Okay, I'll put that in a second, Collardin. I don't know what's even happening there. And thank you, Rodriguez Big, for that follow. Okay, let me close all the things. We got too many things open. Abbreviated 2-word name. Okay. And thank you, Vernon HX, for that follow as well. Will this work? Test. It works for the test cases. Does it work for all of the cases? Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I'll explain that. So earlier when I was writing a regular expression, I typed this. And what this means is match anything, one of that something, one thing. And this means match one of anything. So, yeah, that's why it looked like that. Okay. Let's try this regex from Collardin. Oh, we got rid of the asterisks? I'll take a look. Collardin says this. Whoa. It works. So this says it starts with a word followed by 0 or more spaces, /s is space, followed by a word, followed by 0 or more spaces. But why does it match the first character? Interesting. Oh. What? Oh. Doc mentioned earlier that /w is shorthand for A through Z, 0 through 9, capital A through Z, underscore. So technically, this is very similar to my solution, but I explicitly wrote A through Z. I think that's what's happening here. Please confirm. This is my longer break. So I've been streaming for close to 2.5 hours. I think I'm going to end it there. Maybe we'll do one more. All right, see you later, Geek and Gale. Geek and Gale. Glad you could learn some things. Have a good night. And enjoy Callow Creations. Can we actually get a shout out? Or I'll do it for Callow Creations. They are also a member of the Live Coders team. He's a great dude. Shout out. Callow Creations. Callow Creations was not found. Okay, that's not how you spell it. Can someone figure out how to spell it and then shout them out? The tests don't have 3 named people. Nope, it's just first name, last name. The /w matches 1 character. Very cool. Do you know how to spell it, Alka? Because I don't. A through Z is shorthand for A or B or C or D. Yeah. Coding, yeah, well, let's do one coding clash. Now, I will say for any beginners that are still watching, coding clash can get hard, so it could be discouraging. There it is. Thank you, E-double. Shout out, Callow Creation. There it is. And thank you, New, for that follow. It's 8 p.m. in Colorado, and this champ is still coding. It's 9 p.m. in Colorado. And thank you, 00Q, for the follow. Okay. The Mastermind rated Callow last night. Nice. He's a great dude. And Inburns, thanks for that follow. For beginners, you can have them listen and follow along with your stream, assuming you solve it. I think that's always fun to watch. So here's the thing. As an experienced coder that was teaching things, you saw me struggle to figure out this regular expression for like 10 minutes. So there's always something to learn. We can always get better. And thank you, Galactic, for that follow. 5 a.m. in Bosnia. Wow. Okay, let's vote. Actually, I'm going to do a poll. Because I'm very curious. Hello, Counter Ren. Welcome. Did you learn something tonight? I'm curious. Did I actually show you something that you've never seen before? Yes. A lot. Yes. Only a little. No. Just hanging out. Or, I have no idea what I'm watching. I have no idea. Oh, you did that kata, Bob? That's good to hear. Okay, this poll will run for 2 minutes. Here we go. Cool shirt. Oh, thank you, Lee Hilaire. Is that what you learned tonight? My regex supports any amount of names. Nice. I highly encourage you to learn regex. Yeah, I know the basics. But more complex things get harder and harder for me. All right, let me see which kata you solved, Bob. Human readable duration format. Oh, this one's tricky. 4Q? You did a 4Q? Awesome, Bob. Crazy. So yeah, you're given, what is it, a number of seconds? Yeah, you are given a number of seconds, and you need to turn that into human readable format. Like if you're given 62 seconds, you need to return the string 1 minute and 2 seconds. If you're given this many seconds, you need to return the string 1 hour, 1 minute, 2 seconds. That's tricky. I mean, it's doable, but that's tricky. Great work, Bob. Great work. I don't sleep to watch CJ. Oh man, thank you, Gazisha, for hanging out with us. And Plague Work, thanks for that follow. Yeah, there's the link to the t-shirt. And hello, Fubar. I don't think I saw you in the chat earlier, but welcome. What's the difference between replace and match? So match will return an array of all matches. So let's do this. So replace actually will replace in the string. If I do match, then that does not accept a second parameter. Match returns an array where the first value in the array is the thing you're matching against itself. And then each other value in the array is a matched group. So because I had the group here, that's match 1 or index 1. And because I had the group there, that's index 2. So technically, I could have used match, and then from the resulting array, use 1 and 2. Now, with regular expressions, there's this idea of finding the thing that matched. So with replace, what I'm basically saying is I want to replace the string with, first, the thing that matched in the first parentheses, so that's $1, followed by a period, followed by the second thing that matched. So that's where replace would come into play. They both have their use cases, but ultimately they both execute the regular expression. Working on a 3Q right now. Wow. I just smashed the keys till it worked. I don't, because it's on Teespring. I don't know if I can do that. Probably. If you're learning or implementing regexes, you can always break it down to the level of just or and star and introduce more syntactic sugar as you learned it. Poll is done. All right. So at least 12 people. So how many participated? 20, 30, about 30 people. So do I have percentages? 38% said they learned a little. That's great. At least you learned something. 28. Oh, why does it go away? Is there any way to get it back? I mean, I'm not worried about if nobody learned anything. I'm glad that people at least learned something. That's awesome. Yeah, and it's okay if it was 38% of people. And Bob Joel, thank you for that follow. And Hambone, thanks for that follow. Does anyone know how to get that poll back? It's gone. Save the poll. Well, I mean, it's a clip, but oh well. All right, we are done with the Code Wars portion of tonight. I'll go ahead and actually push up this code. Press F for the poll. F for the poll. All right. So and actually, I don't know if I submit it on Code Wars. I always try to start at 6:30 p.m. my time on Wednesday. If you look at the schedule down there, you should see it in your time zone. And that's usually when I like to start. And yeah, you can click that link as well. Oh, that's great on Hot. Wait, is that Kit Boga? No. Nade plays. Cool. What were we doing? Oh yeah, no, not that one. Did I close the kata? Did I close the kata? Thank you, Bob. And thank you, Kinkberry, for that follow. Okay. Can we all just relive for a second when Mastermind rated us earlier? That was insane. We jumped like 40 follows in like a second. Here's the thing that I'm proud of. My chat manager did not break, right? Did you see just all those follows were coming in and my chat manager did not break? I wrote this thing for anybody that's new here, and I'm very proud of it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Lethal Error. I appreciate that. Okay, can we get the polls here? Would you look at that? Vote breakdown. Wait. Good job, chat manager. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Fubar. Cool. 38% learned a little. 28% learned a lot. 28% was just hanging out. I appreciate you all. You all know these things, but you hang out anyways. But it's always cool to see what you're suggesting as well. I'm up by over 78 follow. Let's see. Can't I get stats somewhere of like number of follows? I don't know. I was only at 4,160. I probably went up by 100 in this one stream. That's crazy. Crazy. Thank you, anyone from Mastermind that's still hanging around. And thank you, again, Mastermind, for rating us. Okay. What we're going to do now is play a little coding game. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and push this code up. To do. Good evening, Greg. You missed it. We got rated and got like 50 follows in an instant, and then the dolphins started flying. Actually, that's what happened. I coded it to do that. Once it hit 4,200, dolphins appeared on the screen. To do, rename this file. Okay, I'm going to push this code up to GitHub. Those of you that are interested in it can pull it down. Did somebody clip? Oh man. Mycruff. Don't know what that is. Those are not git bash commands. Those are my aliases. I need to get the SSH remote. I don't know why this happened, but when I moved over to my new computer, somehow all of my SSH remotes got set to HTTPS instead of... Maybe they were always HTTPS. And I just had my credentials cached. I don't know. Okay, but if you want the code that I wrote tonight, that is right here. Episode 47. You can check that out. And what we're going to do now is play coding game. So this is a fun, competitive, yet also constructive coding game. I only have one Git account, yeah, where we will compete. It's possible, but I cloned it a very, very long time ago. So I think on my old computer, I actually did log in with my GitHub credentials, and then if the GitHub credentials have just been cached ever since, instead of using my SSH key. Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start a private clash. So if you're new to this, you will be given a coding challenge, and we're all gonna be in the same room. And it's one of three modes. We don't get to choose. It's going to be random, but it's either fastest, so who can be the fastest person to solve the problem, shortest, who can solve it in the least number of characters, and also reverse mode. You're given the inputs and the outputs, and you have to guess what code to write based on that. Now, you can use most any language you want. I almost always use JavaScript, but they have lots of language selections, and it's always fun to see how people solve it in other languages like Python and C++ and stuff like that. Stuff like that. The winner gets permabanned. Yeah, so if you just click the link, you can join. You can sign in with GitHub or any of the other services, and you'll be able to participate. Now, if you're a beginner, we have no idea what the challenge is going to be, so it actually could be really, really hard. Don't be discouraged. Give it your best shot. What do you want me to review, Andrew? Are you just redeeming things so that you can give yourself... Did you write an internationalization library? It's not new. All right. See you later, Thon. Thanks for hanging out with us. An easy-to-use internationalization library. Interesting. Interesting. Are you playing the long con? It was last updated 18 days ago. Do you have something in the package lock that's going to rickroll me whenever I do an npm install? Because if not, I just gave you all a great idea on how to rickroll me. All right, let's do this clash. Oh, hey, Brandon. Welcome. Oh, not that. I want to do this clash before... if I review the code. I might save it for maybe Friday morning. That's true. I totally forgot that I created that Rickroll link and then just Rickrolled myself. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy. Oh, I totally forgot. I've got a pouch beverage. Oh, it's kind of invisible. All right, shortest mode. So, you have 15 minutes to solve this problem in the least number of characters. Now, a lot of times when this comes up, I could barely even solve the problem, let alone in the shortest number of characters, but we can participate or try it out. So you write your code over here on the right, and down here you can see your code size. Comments count, so you want to remove the comments for sure. Oh, I won't lethal. I'll definitely do it. And so you can see the code size went down way early. And yeah, don't submit early. Take as much time as you want to get it as small as possible. Now, let's read the problem statement and see if we can even solve this. Your program must find the point that is exactly between two other points. You are given the coordinates x and y of 2 points, which bind a line segment. The midpoint of this line segment is the target point. Be careful with float numbers and use point as a decimal mark. Definitely. Two integers separated by white space, x1 and y2. So your first line of input is 1 and 2. That's xy. Your second line of input is x2, y2. It's 3, 5. And we need to find the middle point between the two points. There's probably an algorithm for this because I actually don't know. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to open my pouch beverage and think about it. But then I'm just going to Google find the midpoint of a line. There's probably a formula for it. Doc, we need you. Okay. Is it the average? 3 plus 1 is 4. The average of that is 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. The average of that is 3.5. Well, let's just do it. I think we can figure that out. The midpoint formula. Okay. The distance formula. So, here's the thing. Oh, actually, it just works out like that. So, this is doing a split. I'm going to do a shorthand for that to save some characters. We need to read line twice, so I'm going to assign read line to a variable called r. And thank you, Sandra Ross, for the formula. But yeah, it's basically the average of two numbers, but we can do it. And then we need x and y. And that's going to be equal to the first line split. And then we need a and b. That's the next two lines. So I'm writing this as, I'm writing it in a very a non-verbose way. Now let me just make sure that this actually works. A comma b. Missing parenthesis after, oh, I need a parenthesis there, and I need a parenthesis there. Can I do that? Unexpected identifier on line 1. R equals... Oh, no. Does that work, Andrew? I dropped my equal sign. Where did it go? Oh. Oh. I dropped my equal sign. Okay. And see you later, Zach. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a good night. I don't need that. I don't need that. Okay. Will this at least give me the variables? No. But if I wrap it in parentheses, I think I can do destructuring without the let keyword, which saves us one character. R is not defined. What? R equals read line. What are you talking about? Hello, Yamu. Welcome. Yeah, Yamuzu? Welcome. Put a comma after the read line. Ah. Intermediate value R. Okay, I'm gonna stop trying to do this. I'm just gonna use let. That's what I was trying to avoid, is just literally the let keyword. Okay, so that actually gives me the values. And then I want to print the midpoint. I don't need the parentheses. Can I? I don't think I can do that. Code Wars always complain when I try to do that. Yeah, see it says like X is not defined. Add a comma. Okay. Hey, thank you. Thank you, everyone. You missed it. If I'm filling it. If I'm still filling it, we can try one more after this. Remove the, so I don't need that one. Wow. Okay, so now we just do the formula, which is x plus a divided by 2. Comma. Y plus b divided by 2. Found. So I have my x's added together divided by 2. I have my y's added together and divided by 2. What? R equals readline dot split. Oh, and then I could reuse that. Okay. Now we're just doing like ASCII faces. Why? Divide by 2 for floats. In JavaScript, all numbers are floats, so I shouldn't have to do that. What am I doing wrong? 10,000 seedlings, nice. Oh, you took a C# test and aced it, nice. Yep, this is a completely different game. This is not this is not a kata anymore. We're playing coding game. If you go to codinggame.com, you can check it out. It has different kinds of programming problems. Okay, 1 plus 3 is 4 divided by 2. So that should be 1 plus 3 is 4 divided by 2 should give us 2. But we're getting back 6.5. I don't think 2.0 is going to do anything. Why in the world? Oh, I also need to print a space. I totally forgot about that. But that can't be it, right? Oh, the space should come automatically. Oh! Wait. It's because they're strings. They're strings. I need to make them into integers, yeah. Thank you, Uzi Lullaby, for that follow. Alright, so we need to coerce these into... Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I got this idea from Doc, but basically, R is going to be a function that calls readline and then splits it and then maps it to number. And then I can just invoke R twice. And then I don't need to do that. Okay. Yeah, so instead of... we got to play around with this. So let's see how many minutes I have left. I have 5 minutes left, and I'm down to 83 characters. We've got one JavaScript submission with 99 characters, one with 154. I think we can get smaller, but this works for all test cases. Okay, we at least solved it for most. And then, yeah, so we could save a line by putting the first one. May the code be with you. I don't. That could be something to write. Okay, that breaks. Maximum call stack size succeeded. Oh, because it's going to call that every single time. Yeah, so let's see. So this is 83 characters. If I use the unary plus operator, that's definitely less characters, yeah. That's only, oh, no, oh, yeah. X is not defined, and then I need that comma there. And thank you, Rovi Bronze, for that follow. Yeah, so this is definitely less characters. That got us down to 77 characters. No space needed there. That's 76 characters. Put it inside line 2. This. Whoa! Yep, and then that saves 1 character if you... This is ridiculous. 74 characters. All right, I'm just going to submit it. I don't want to try and make it any smaller than that. All right, I somehow am in first place. Though, anyone else competing, you still have 3 minutes to beat my 74 characters. Yeah. Great work, everyone. I mean, technically you're playing against the chat here. It's not me. Because a lot of those tips came from Andrew and Doc. Drink pouch. Square root of x minus x raised to the 2nd power. Interesting. Is this the midpoint formula as well? Would that have been shorter? Probably not, because I would have had to have done math.square root. Yeah, I don't know if that's the formula, though. No, that's the distance formula. Ah, okay, yeah, we didn't want the distance. We wanted the midpoint. What does comma mean? I mean, technically, in this scenario, I could have used semicolons, but the comma operator in JavaScript, I guess it ends the expression. You can have another expression after that, but the last item, you can have multiple commas. The last thing in that sequence of commas is the result of the entire expression. Comma operator. The comma operator. So the comma operator evaluates each of its operands from left to right and returns the value of the last operand. Yeah, so basically it's really only useful for making really short code. I never use this in my day-to-day life writing JavaScript. It is pretty funky. But it's really useful in a coding challenge like this. You have 1 minute and 43 seconds to beat 74 characters. Good luck, everyone. Good luck. Everyone's still clashing. But yeah, it's really convenient. It's actually really convenient if you want to write a... But I think that might have saved me some characters, huh? Do I think Python or Java is shorter? Python is definitely... You can write shorter programs with Python. Because with Java, you have to import things. There's a lot of curly braces. Python, you can get really, really terse. Shit, did Alka beat me? Oh, 67 characters! Great work, Alka. Get golfed. Yeah, so this is also called code golf. For those of you that have never seen something like this, it's basically solving a coding problem in the least number of characters. Similar how in golf you want to get the ball in the hole in the least number of strokes. I don't know golf, but I think that's how it works. Yeah, so comma operator is interesting. All right, 42 seconds. Brandon with 97 characters. Good work. All right, we're going to review the top 3 that are not mine. And we'll review Necris, because they did it in Python. Code golf. Bob did it in 79 characters. Great work, Bob. All right, you've got 16 seconds left. I turned CJ off, excited to see later what happened. Well, welcome back, Brandon. Oh, I didn't mean to click you. Mine is basically yours, but not as good. All right, the clash is complete. Let's see all the results. So Alka, 67 characters. Let's see what they did. Oh, oh, this is new. They added a dark font to the preview. All right, so we have the readline function here. Oh, that's so smart. Okay. So this is similar to the function that I wrote. It reads line, splits it. That's going to return an array of the 2 values. Now, and this is also similar to what I did, Call readline, you get back x and y. Call readline again, and you get back a and b. And it's just a shorthand that you pass that into the function, because in JavaScript, if a function doesn't take in any parameters, you can still pass in parameters, they're just not going to be used. So technically we're passing in this as a parameter, but at the same time defining variables, which is weird. But how Alka got it shorter was I had to use the unary plus to turn x and a and y and b into numbers because they were strings. And I had that wrapped in parentheses divided by 2. But in JavaScript, if you divide a string by a number, it automatically converts that string into a number. So Alka left off or got rid of a bunch of basically parentheses and plus signs because they did x divided by 2, and also the laws of mathematics. I don't know if it's a law, but it's a thing in math where x plus y divided by 2 is the same thing as x divided by 2 plus y divided by 2. What is that called? Communicative? Is it I don't know. But that's a thing. And thank you, Shotnakra, for that follow, and Mr. Blade Brown. Okay, but by doing that and then adding it together, it's the same thing. The distributive property. Distribution. There we go. So x plus a, that, divided by 2, is the same thing as x divided by 2 plus a divided by 2. So Alka took advantage of that fact and the fact that any string divided by a number gives us back a number, and they have way less characters. Could not find a definition for commutative. And thank you, Dark Murph, for that follow. Yeah, okay, so my solution, very similar, but you see that I'm doing all this weird plus sign stuff. So in JavaScript, this plus sign is the unary plus operator, and you can basically use that to turn a string into a number. So I turned x into a number and a into a number, added them together, and divided by 2. It's a math law. So this is very similar to what Alka did, but he used the commutative? Distributive. Search for distributive. And I have an unnecessary new line. Yep. Oh, look at that. Line 4. I didn't even know. Commutative. It's the commutative. But yeah, line 4 I could have removed and got rid of one character. Okay. All right. Bob did it in 79 characters. Very good. So basically exactly the same thing I did, but instead of doing that weird thing where this line gets passed into the function above it, it's just on a separate line. Great work. Great work. All right, let's see. Brandon did it in 97 characters. Very similar to what I did, but they used the let keyword. So we figured out you don't need the let keyword if you terminate the previous expression. And this is the reason we use the comma operator. Commutative is not correct. It's the distributive property. Okay, so a times b plus c is the same thing as a times b plus ac. Very cool. My variable names are so bad. Well, oh, that's true, because they're 2 characters long instead of 1 character. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, what we learned earlier was using the comma operator makes it so that you don't have to use the let keyword. Because technically what happens is JavaScript puts all those things on the same line, separated by commas, which allows each expression to be evaluated without actually needing to have that let keyword. And then we got some different maths going on. Yeah, and so this is very similar to what Alka did. So instead of explicitly converting x to a number, we just multiply it by a half, which is the same thing as dividing by 2. Great work. You could have saved some characters here as well. So treat print like console log, and console log, if you pass in multiple parameters, it automatically separates it by a space. So yeah. Thank you, Dean, for that follow. With an implicit var. Yes. So with the comma operator, there are implicit vars if you are defining variables. Yeah. Input. Cool. All right. So let's see someone who did it in not JavaScript. Ooh, shine on. 138 characters in Ruby. Let's see. Python. Wow, it looks kind of like JavaScript. Okay, so in Ruby, we say gets, so like get string, split it on spaces, and then collect it and convert them into integers. Interesting. So collect is kind of like a map, it seems like. And then the return, I don't know if this is returning a tuple or it actually just has 2 return values. So that's great. Similar to Brandon, you could have shortened your variable names, Shinon, to be just like single letters. And then we've already converted x1, y1, x2, y2 into integers using this. So we can just divide by 2. And then this is how we do a template string. %G A. So %G, is that for a floating point value? Interesting. And Modern Towel, thank you very much for that follow. What are you doing? Type equals password. Yeah, you have to put the type on there. Cool. All right, great work, Shinon. %G is similar to a float. Okay. I guess it's this might be a printf, and printf is in a lot of different languages. It's Christmas. Except it will remove trailing zeros. Ah, very cool. That makes sense. Gets rid of 0.0 from 1.0. Okay. All right, and then Necros did it in Python. Let's see how they did it. So we're importing system. I wonder what that gives us. Maybe system gives us the format function. But input.split automatically splits on spaces, which is interesting. I skipped the other Python? Oh, unhot. Sorry. I'll look at yours first. There's technically less characters. 109 characters. All right. We're reassigning the input function to Q, invoking it and splitting it. And yeah, this is super interesting to me that in Python, string split automatically splits on space, whereas in JavaScript you have to pass in a space. I think they included sys by mistake. It might have been the maybe unhot or who's the other person? You can let me know if the solution. Sometimes they give you code, but you technically can remove some of that code. And thank you, Solon E, for that follow. But okay, split it, and then for each item, cast it to an integer. We're gonna get back x and y. Do the same thing, and we get back a and b. And then now we are using similarly that g command. So x plus a divided by 2, y plus b divided by 2. You don't have to do the weird unary plus thing that I was doing because we've already casted it to an integer there. And then I'm assuming that the g, similar to how we saw earlier, removes the decimal place. Awesome. Okay, so they... no worries, Necros. Yeah, sometimes they give you code that you don't actually need, so you can remove it to make it smaller. Yeah, and so like you probably could have got rid of the space there, but it's okay. I'm curious if that button works. Which button? Oh, this one? Let's see what you did. Form. Action. Make a post request against that MP4 file? I'm not going to click that button, Andrew. What is this? Oh, it's a marquee input type password. Size 500. Nothing happens. Click me. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Okay. This is very similar to unhot solution. But in this case, you're using the format function instead of like a built-in, like they were using, let's compare it. They were using this f function. Yeah, f, which is probably similar to string.format. I'm curious if the chat will redirect. No, I have, I'll show you. I have navigation blocking in the chat manager. So if it tries to go somewhere, yeah, look at this. The value is out of range. Is it literally trying to make a yeah, blocked navigation? Oh wait, this might actually be something else. But my Electron app blocks any sort of navigation from going anywhere. What the heck is happening? There's like a... How long has this been happening? Out of range. The value of offset is out of range. Oh no, it's still running. It's Alka? Wait, what? What are you doing, Alka? Posture check. This is happening in the serializer. All right, I'm gonna just... Things are gonna die for a second. What? So this is how I start things up every day. And I have a bunch of different things running on different ports. Focus and resulting document after update is large. Oh, this is a Mongo error. I have this giant object that I'm trying to update in Mongo, and that's what's erroring. Okay. No, it's my backend. If I look in, just give me a sec. If I look in Robo3T, which is the Mongo viewer, it might have been earlier when we got all those follow messages and stuff like that, that there are way too many chat messages in this particular event. This never happened. I mean, there are 4,000 messages. I'll show you. There are 4,000 messages. And 177 people. I don't know. Why not delete the old messages? I thought maybe I'll use them one day. I don't really know. All right, I think that's it. I think we're done. I'm not going to do the code review, Andrew, but another time. Feel free to redeem it, and I can definitely take a look. Sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta go to bed. Chat manager never forgets. Yeah. So, do I recommend AWS Lightsail for production applications? Absolutely. I'm using AWS Lightsail in production right now. The thing I like about it is it's a simpler pricing model, so it's a lot easier for billing clients. So there's that. And it's definitely cheaper than EC2, especially if you know you're going to stay within their bandwidth and storage limits. So yeah, AWS Lightsail is great. And AWS Lightsail is literally running on EC2. It's just a wrapper, and it simplifies things. So yeah. If I make him code review a Rickroll, does that count? The next coding game is going to be Friday at 7:30 a.m. my time. If you look in the schedule down there, or if you do ! schedule, you get a link. That will show it in your time zone. Sleepbot. Rapper? What? Mate? I don't know what you're saying. All right, you all are wonderful people. Thank you for hanging out with me today in this, what was a beginner stream, and is now turned into us trying to code golf, and it turned into me solving regex. You're very welcome, E-Double. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, quick shout out to everyone that, I can't believe Obama subscribed to my channels. To my channel, that's crazy. See you later, Greg. There's literally a Twitch username with the username Obama. Now I'm curious. Alka, can you tell me how old this user account is? Like, they had to have gotten that name a long time ago. 7 years ago. Yeah. I can't believe a 7-year-old Twitch account subscribed to me. It's great. All right. Thank you, Inburns. Caligula with the Twitch Prime sub. Thank you very much. A great way to end the stream. I appreciate you. You get to use the exclusive Coding Garden emotes. Your account is older? I mean, I'm sure. Did yours come from, like, was it like Justin.tv? So once you're a subscriber, you can use emotes. So we're all going to drop. Let's do this one, the Coding.js flower. And thank you, my man Van, for that follow. Hydrate. I'll drink from my juice pouch. Oh, the persim. That's funny. Stop flexing your create. Yeah, when is my my created date? 1 year, 93 days, 22 hours ago. Cool. Okay. Shout out to all the supporters. Mr. Bekaletsky, who subbed before the stream. I appreciate you. Thank you, Zach King, for the tier 1 sub. Necris for the Twitch Prime sub. Bellhance for the tier 1 sub. Sean with so many bits. So many bits, Sean. 1,000 bits. Gabriel with the Twitch Prime sub. Purple Shadow with 100 bits. Bellhance with 100 bits. Imgene with 100 bits. Sean with the 300 bits. Shines Love with the 500 bits. Shines Love with that gifted tier 1 sub. Purple Shadow with the 200 bits. Obama with the 1 month sub. And Caligula with the Twitch Prime sub. I can't get over this. And thank you, Jason Phillips, for that follow. Oldest followers. Heck, Alka, Conrad. You've been following me for a long time, Alka. That's crazy. Me, I am so me. Oh, I didn't know they had a Twitch account. Wait, what did Greg say? I knew Justin when he was wearing the cameras. Does that count? From Justin TV. How did Heck beat me? I used to work with Heck. She's the person that designed the emotes. She designed the yerba and the can of beans. Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Beans. All right, let's get that raid message ready. We're going to raid someone. We don't know who, but we'll figure it out. Stick around to join us in that raid. If you are not a sub, which is okay, you can use this raid message. Do curly brace, heart emoji, curly brace, seedling emoji, curly brace, heart emoji. So if you're not a sub, feel free to copy that. We're going to send this in the chat when we get over to the next channel for a raid. I might, Chewy. I'll see who's streaming. Oh yeah, you can go there to copy the messages as well. And then if you're a sub, you've seen other people do it, but do Coding Garden Heart, Coding Garden Seedling, Coding 5 Seedling, and Coding 5 Heart. So if you're a sub, use that one. If you're not a sub, use the emoji one. Copy it, paste it in the chat wherever we go. And I fiddled with this while waiting on the stream intro. But what does it do? Does it rickroll me? Oh, that's awesome. It's a nice little animation. I love it. Thank you, Alka. Awesome. So hearts to everyone. Copy and paste that raid message. Tune in Friday morning for coding clashes. And then I'll be streaming on Saturday as well for more of like a project stream of sorts. All right. Thank you again to all of the new followers, to all of the supporters. Can you look, that number jumped up so high, the follower count. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, or morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And until next time, here's this.